यो चाहिँ प्योरली रिसोर्सेस र हाम्रो आफ्नो एक्सपर्टिजको कमी हो। आज हामी बसेर अघि न एउटा म सानो जोडिहाल्छु, गोविन्द दाइले अघि भन्नुभएको कोचेसको कुरा गर्छौँ, अम्पायर्सको कुरा गर्छौँ, होइन, क्युरेटर्सको कुरा गर्छौँ। आज हामी एउटा क्युरेटर झिकाउनलाई बङ्गलादेशको मुख ताक्नुपर्छ। हामी कहाँ क्युरेटरको कामलाई त्यति तुच्छ मानिन्छ, ग्राउन्डमा काम गर्ने भनेर मानिन्छ। हामीले एउटा बङ्गलादेशको मान्छेलाई यहाँ बोलाएर हाम्रो पिच सपार्ने काम गरिरहेछौँ भने हामी टेक्निकली कहाँ छौँ? हाम्रो इन्भेस्टमेन्ट त्योतिर हुनुपर्छ। ग्राउन्डको कुरा गरेँ हामी, चाहेको खण्डमा त 1 वर्षमा त टियु क्रिकेट ग्राउन्ड फ्लडलिट र सिटिङ क्यापासिटीसम्म बन्ने रहेछ नि, होइन? अहिले आएर हामी क्रिकेटले 20 वर्ष भन्ने लायक हामी आज छौँ कि छैनौँ, त्यो क्वेसन चाहिँ हामीले आफूलाई गर्नुपर्छ।
हामी टेस्ट नेसन बन्ने बाटोमै छौँ।
अफ कोर्स छौँ। तपाईँ मलाई सोध्नुहुन्छ भने मोर देन एनी अदर कन्ट्री,
हाम्रो घरेलु संरचना,
एब्सोल्युटली मोर देन एनी अदर कन्ट्री इन दिस रिजन हामी फ्रन्ट रनर हौँ। यदि नम्बर्सको मात्रै पनि कुरा गर्नुभयो,
त्यसलाई हामीले तुलना गरिरहेका छौँ युएई, हङकङ, कुवेत, कतारसँग तुलना गरिरहेका छौँ।
यो रिजनमा इभन यदि यु इन्क्लुड आयरल्यान्ड इन्टु द्याट, आयरल्यान्डले जति वर्षमा क्रिकेट खेल्छ त्यसको 10 गुणा बढी हामी क्रिकेट खेल्छौँ डोमेस्टिकली। तपाईँले अघि 1 महिनाको पिएमको भन्नुभयो, आयरल्यान्डमा 4 वटा टिमको 7 दिनको टुर्नामेन्ट छ।
तिनीहरू चाहिँ युकेमा भइरहेको मा गएर खेल्ने गर्छन्। त्यहाँ धेरै जसो स्कटल्यान्ड र आयरल्यान्डका खेलाडीहरू।
अब आई डोन्ट नो तपाईले यो सबै कुराहरू खोताल्दा हाउ मच यु डिग्ड इन्टु हाम्रो प्लेयरको स्ट्याटमा, तर हैन म एउटा कुरा क्लियर गरिहालौँ बिकज इट्स अ क्वेसन, इट निड्स टु बी आन्सर्ड। हाम्रो प्लेयरहरूको तपाईँ स्ट्याट चेक गर्नु, वर्षमा उनीहरूले कतिवटा म्याचेसहरू खेलेका छन् भनेर। क्यानले एउटा टुर्नामेन्ट गराउँछ, क्यानले अर्को 7 वटा टुर्नामेन्ट अप्रुभ गर्छ।
टुर्नामेन्टमा गएकै छैन। नेसनल देशले जुन गरिरहेको छ द्याट्स भेरी टाइट शेड्युल। उहाँलाई घरको लागि फुर्सद पनि छैन। जुन हामीले घरेलु
क्रिकेटकै कुरा गरे, तपाईँ पिएम कप जोड्नु भयो होला, होइन? तर त्योभन्दा बाहेक हरेक प्रोभिन्समा अहिले टुर्नामेन्ट भइरहेको छ जुन तपाईँले मिस गर्नुभयो होला। हरेक प्रोभिन्सले आफ्नो आफ्नो टुर्नामेन्ट गराइरहेको छ। रूपन्देहीले गराइरहेछ आफ्नो लिग, कोशीले आफ्नो लिग अस्ति भर्खरै सकिया, मधेसले आफ्नो लिग भर्खरै सकिया। त्यो सबै टुर्नामेन्टको लागि रिसोर्सेस तपाईलाई जानकारी गराउँ, क्यानको केही न केही रूपमा त्यसमा इन्भल्भमेन्ट हुन्छ, त्यसमा इन्भेस्टमेन्ट हुन्छ र यो सबै क्रिकेट टुर्नामेन्टहरू क्यानले एक्टिभली पार्टिसिपेट गरिराखेको हुन्छ त्यो सबैमा।
हैन, मलाई चाहिँ घरेलु क्रिकेटमा रेड बल उमेर समूहबाट सुरु हुनुपर्छ। त्यो चाहिँ सही वे हो जस्तो लाग्छ टेस्टको लागि, टेस्ट नेसनको लागि भन्ने, जोय ट्रफीको लागि। वी हैव स्टिल 8 more minutes. ओके, थ्याङ्क यू। हैन, हामी त्यो बाटोमा थियौँ।
and business unless
percentage is 98.8. अथवा यो चाहिँ IPL मा होस्, IPL मा अब नेपालमा
पनि यो पछिल्लो 2 सिरिजमा मैदानमा हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यस कारणले पनि तपाईँ जय ट्रफीमा पनि सम्भवतः हुनुहुन्थ्यो होला जय ट्रफीमा भएको मैले थाहा पाइनँ तर सम्भवतः तपाईँ नै आउँदै हुनुहुन्छ भनेपछि यो चर्चा स्वाभाविक या अतिरञ्जित तपाईँको विचारमा
आजकल त अघि विनोदजीले भने जस्तो सोसियल मिडियालाई कसरी लिने भन्ने कुरा हो
हैन हामी समर्थक कस्तो बन्नुपर्छ तपाईँले पनि सिकाइदिनु पर्छ नि त
यो चाहिँ कस्तो भने मिस्टेक इज अ मिस्टेक नो डाउट तर क्रिकेटको लज भित्र र ल भन्दा पनि मास्तिर एउटा कोड अफ कन्डक्ट भन्ने चिज रहन्छ त्यसले के गर्छ त भन्दाखेरि मिस्टेक
स्पिरिट अफ क्रिकेट
मिस्टेक कसैबाट हुन्छ विशेष गरी म्याच अफिसियल्सबाट भने त्यसमा रियाक्ट गर्ने छुट्टै एउटा प्रक्रिया छ तर एज अ प्लेयर यु क्यान नट रियाक्ट अन द फिल्ड अफ प्ले अर इभन आउटसाइड यसरी बाँधिदिएको छ र हामीले मानिलियो मैले अन द फिल्ड कुनै एउटा मिस्टेक गरेँ ब्लन्डर गरेँ भने पनि प्लेयर डजन्ट ह्याभ द स्पेस टु रियाक्ट दिँदैन लले हो फ्रस्ट्रेसनमा उहाँले लिखित रूपमा रिपोर्ट गर्ने हरेक म्याच पछि उहाँहरूलाई जान्छ र त्यो गर्नुपर्छ क्रिकेट भनेको कस्तो भने ब्रिटिसर्सहरूले सुरु गरेको खेल भएको हुनाले यस्तो नियम पनि निकै कडा नै मान्नुपर्छ तपाईँ लर्ड्समा गएर टेस्ट क्रिकेट हेर्न जानुभयो भने ताली पनि कति सेकेन्ड बजाउने भन्ने नियम छ त्यहाँ दर्शकलाई पनि उठेर हिँड्न मिल्छ कि मिल्दैन भन्ने पनि नियम छ त्यहाँ इभन दर्शकको लागि सो यो अलिक कम्प्लिकेटेड बनाइएको छ यो चिजलाई र यसलाई चाहिँ कोड अफ कन्डक्टले के गर्छ त भन्दाखेरि बाँधिदिएको छ त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि हामी कतिपय चिज दुईटा चिज गर्छ एउटा एकदमै रिजल्ट ओरिएन्टेड छौँ किन हार्यो एउटा त्यो सोच्छौँ जित्नै पर्यो हरेक चिज भनेर सोच्छौँ एक्सपेक्टेसन हाई छ दोस्रो कुरो के त भन्दाखेरि कुनै चिज मिस्टेक भयो भने यो मिस्टेक भयो भने अलिक ब्लो अफ बेसी गर्छौँ मैले यतिसम्म देखेको छु होइन पेड कन्टेन्ट क्रिएटरहरूलाई दिएर मिस्टेक्सहरू ब्लो अप गर्न देखिएको पनि पछिल्लो समयमा देखिएको छ सो पार्ट अफ अब यो केलाई के भन्यो यसलाई अब आजकलको सोसियल यो साइटहरु पार्ट हुन्छ
काइन्ड अफ यो अतिरञ्जित नै हो जति समय पछिल्लो समय हो आइसिसीले हेरिरहेको हुन्छ तपाईँ यदि सही गर्न सक्नुहुन्न भने तपाईँलाई डिमोसन गर्ला अन्य प्रक्रियाहरू अपनाउला तपाईलाई अतिरञ्जित लाग्छ
हजुर धेरै हदसम्म हामी यस्तो जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल मेरो कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ भने म म्याचेस अफ द टुर्नामेन्टको दौरान सोसियल मिडिया नै फलो गर्दिनँ स्पेशली म्याचको एक दिन पछि म फलो नै गर्दिनँ डिप्रेस नै हुने गरी तपाईले एउटा मिस्टेक गर्नुभयो भने यु वुड स्टार्ट थिङ्किङ अबाउट मैले त छोड्नुपर्छ कि के हो अब आइएम स्टार्टिङ मैले त अब गर्न नसक्ने भएको भन्ने त्यो लेभलमा हुन्छ तर त्यसको अर्थ के हो त भन्दाखेरि त्यसबाट मैले चाहिँ यदि एउटै मिस्टेक रिपिटेडली गरिरहेको छु भने मैले चाहिँ त्यसमा मेरो पनि टेक्निकमा केही कमजोरी छ भनेर लिने आफ्नो हुन्छ तर त्यसको मेकानिजम छुट्टै छ उदाहरणको लागि म तपाईँलाई दिन्छु जुन एनालिस्ट अहिले टिमले प्रयोग गर्छ त्यो एनालिस्टले हाम्रो डिसिजन रिभ्यूमा पनि हेल्प गरिरहेका हुन्छन् बिहाइन्ड द सिनका कुराहरू हुने जुन तपाईँ हामी देख्दैनौँ तर वर्कआउट गर्ने मान्छेहरूले हरेक डिसिजन, इभन नट जस्ट डिसिजन्स, हरेक अपिलहरूको विथ हामीसँग जस्तै आइसिसीले नै हाम्रो एउटा चाहिँ अम्पायर कोच भनेर डेजिग्नेट गरेको हुन्छ. सो एभ्री डिसिजन वी मेक वी डिस्कस विथ द कोच, अनलाइनमा डिस्कस गरिएको हुन्छ. सो छ मेकानिजम, ह्युमन एरर हुन्छ, तर अब यसलाई ब्लो अप गर्ने नगर्ने सोसियल मिडियाको आफ्नो चिज हो, त्यसमा खासै म चाहिँ त्यति धेरै त्यसमा कन्सन्ट्रेट
म उहाँकै कुरालाई जोडेर विनोदजीसँग जान्छु. हामीले एक हिसाबले सफलता प्राप्त गरिरहेका छौँ. सफलताको भोग सधैँ नै ठुलो हुने गर्छ र ठुलो हुनु पनि पर्छ. अघि उहाँले भनेको कुरा जस्तो मलाई जहिले पनि फिल हुन्छ कि हामी अघिल्लो 2 वर्ष 2023 मा युए र नेपालको म्याच भइरहेको थियो. ग्राउन्डमा हामी छाता ओढेर बसिरहेका थियौँ. एनपिएलमा हामीले त्यही खालको भिड देख्यौँ र त्यही कन्डिसनमा नेपाल अहिले पनि छ. अहिलेका 2 सिरिजलाई हामीले मैदानमा हेर्ने हो भने हामीले समर्थक दर्शक पाएनौँ. यसलाई स्वीकार्नुपर्छ. हामीसँग सबै कुरा राम्रो छ. र इङ्ल्यान्डमा भन्नुभयो, इङ्ल्यान्डमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ, अपोजिट टिमले चौका राम्रो सर्ट हाने भने क्लाप गरिन्छ. हाम्रोमा बोतल अथवा ढुङ्गा जाने सम्भावना एकदम प्रबल हुन्छ. दर्शकहरू पनि अथवा क्रिकेट समर्थकहरू पनि थोरै क्रिकेटको डिसिप्लिन अथवा स्पिरिटमा बस्नु आवश्यक हो जस्तो लाग्छ तपाईँलाई?
हेर्नुहोस्, दुईटा पार्ट हो यो एन्सरको. एउटा त पहिलो कुरा दर्शकको उपस्थितिलाई लिएर. सो अब चाहिँ नेपालको दर्शक पनि बिस्तारै मेच्योर चाहिँ भइरहेका छन्. मेच्योर इन अ सेन्स कि उहाँहरूलाई रिप्लेजहरू हेर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ, उहाँहरूलाई त्यो कन्टेन्टको बारेमा क्रिटिकली एनालाइज गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ. के भयो, कसो भयो, बल मुभ भयो भएन, यो सबै डिटेल्सहरू चाहिँ ग्राउन्डमा बसेर हेर्न चाहिँ एकदमै गाह्रो हुन्छ. सो उहाँहरू चाहिँ दे हेभ सिफ्टेड मोर टुवर्ड्स टिभी. एकतिर जहाँ हाम्रो अनफिल्ड अनग्राउन्ड भ्युवरसिप घटिरहेछ, त्यही हाम्रो डिजिटल प्रेजेन्स चाहिँ त्यतिकै त्यही हिसाबले बढेछ. सो त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति असर चाहिँ पर्यो. बट बाई नो मिन्स कि अहिलेको उपस्थिति खालि त्यो मात्रै कारणले पनि होइन. अहिलेको अनुपस्थिति भनौँ त्यो मात्रै कारण चाहिँ थिएन. एक त सिजन, बर्खा घाम हाम्रो माथि सेड चाहिँ छैन. र अर्को कुरा अहिले पनि सफलता भन्नुभयो, हामी पूर्णतया सफल भइसकेका छैनौँ. त्यो ग्राउन्डलाई अहिले पनि त्यो ग्राउन्डमा बेसिक पूर्वाधारहरू अझै पनि अपग्रेड गर्नै बाँकी छ. जस्तै पानीको फेसिलिटी हामीले तपाईँ बताउनुहुन्न होला, यो 2टा टुर्नामेन्टमा मात्रै झन्डै हामीले क्यानले आफ्नो एक्सपेन्सेसमा अलमोस्ट 5-7 लाख रुपियाँको पानीको बोतल किनेर राख्नुपर्ने अवस्था थियो. बट वी आर ह्याप्पी अबाउट डुइङ द्याट, किनभने त्यसले गर्दाखेरि दर्शकहरूलाई अलिकति भए पनि राहत चाहिँ मिल्छ गर्मीबाट होइन. तर सेड राख्ने कुरा भयो, त्यो पनि अहिले सरकारसँग भएको कुराकानी अनुसार अब नेक्स्ट फेजको कन्स्ट्रक्सनमा त्यो पनि सायद अलिकति ठिक होला. तर धेरै कारणहरूले गर्दा अहिले त एक त दर्शकको मेच्युरिटी, त्यसपछि अहिलेको पूर्वाधारमा एक्सपेक्टेसन अलिक बढी छ र हामी फुलफिल गर्न नसक्नु एउटा अर्को पनि कारण. र तेस्रो चाहिँ वेदरले गर्दाखेरि पनि हो. म्याच हुने नहुने, हामी त तपाईँले यो पालो देख्नुभयो होला, 100% ग्राउन्डलाई कभर गर्ने केही एसोसिएट क्रिकेट राष्ट्रमध्ये हामी हो.
होइन, हामी चाहिँ जस्तो मलाई हिजै भर्खर हुनुपर्छ 2टा कुरा थिए. एउटा कुरा के थियो भन्दा हामी भुटानसँग हार्यौँ र चाइनासँग हार्यौँ महिला क्रिकेटमा. पशुपतिनाथले पनि बचाउनु भएन. मनोजजीको कुरालाई सापट लिने हो भने होइन, र बचाउँदा पनि बचाउँदैन. यो खालको जुन काम भइरहेछ यहाँ त्यतिर हामी जानै पाइएन. नेपाली क्रिकेट यति भास्ट छ कि धेरै विषयवस्तुहरू छोड्ने छन् होइन. तर अर्को कुरा के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले जुन एनपिएलले हाम्रो लङ्गर फर्मेटलाई चाहिँ पछाडि धकालेको जस्तो महसुस हुँदैन?
होइन, अफकोर्स धकाल्छ. कम्पिटिसन हो, फर्मेट एक आपसमा त्यो एउटा कम्पिटिसन पनि हो. तर हामी चाहिँ क्लियर छौँ, क्रिकेट डेभलपमेन्टको लागि जति पनि इन्भेस्टमेन्ट छ त्यो T20 क्रिकेटबाटै आउँछ. अहिले पनि यदि तपाईँले 10वटा टेस्ट प्लेइङ नेसनहरूको बारेमा देख्नुभयो भने सायद टपको 2-3टा नेसन छोडिदिने भने सबै टेस्टको स्टेटस अलमोस्ट सेम छ. चाहे त्यो पाकिस्तान होस्, चाहे त्यो अफगानिस्तान होस्, नयाँ टेस्ट प्लेइङ नेसन त छोडिदिनुहोस्, इभन पुरानो टेस्ट प्लेइङ नेसनहरूमा पनि वेस्ट इन्डिजको हालत त्यस्तै छ. इन्डिया, इङ्ल्यान्ड, साउथ अफ्रिका, अस्ट्रेलिया, यो 4वटाको एउटा ब्राकेटमा छन् भने बाँकीको टेस्ट प्लेइङ नेसनको पनि स्ट्याटस अलमोस्ट उही लेभलमा छ. सो टेस्ट क्रिकेट चाहिँ क्रिकेटलाई बचाइराख्नलाई जरुरी छ. त्यही भएर पनि हामीले विगतको दिनमा मल्टिडेज क्रिकेट स्टार्ट गरेका छौँ. 4बाट 6 बनाएका छौँ, 2 दिवसीयबाट अब 3 दिवसीय बनाउने. तर त्यो ग्रेजुअल स्टेप हो. त्यसमा चाहिँ तपाईँले बिस्तारै लगानी बढाउँदै जानुपर्ने हुन्छ. त्यहाँ लगानी आउने फेरि एनपिएलबाटै हो. सो एनपिएललाई चाहिँ एज अ कम्पिटिसनको रूपमा भन्दा पनि एनपिएल हाम्रो क्यास काउ हो, जसले कि हाम्रो क्रिकेटको डेभलपमेन्टलाई फ्युल गर्छ भोलिको दिनमा.
दर्शकहरू थोरै चेन्जेस भइदिए इङ्ल्यान्डको जस्तो भइदिनु पर्छ भन्ने कुरा नै हो मेरो
होइन
होइन।
दर्शक मलाई जहाँसम्म लाग्छ नेपालको दर्शक compared to so many other countries they are well equipped well educated र well versed पनि
Yes, होइन जब
खाली के हो भने हामीलाई दर्शकहरूको एक्सपेक्टेशन्स बढी हुनु पनि कारण छ पर्फर्मेन्सले गर्दा हो हामीले सर्टेन टाइममा ठुलो ठुलो टिमलाई जित्या भएर नै उहाँहरूले एक्सपेक्ट गर्नुभयो नजित्या भए उहाँहरूले पनि गर्नुहुन्थेन होला
मलाई लङ्गर फर्मेट हेर्ने बानीको विकास नेपाली क्रिकेटमा दर्शकमा भइदियोस् भन्ने चिन्ताको साथ मैले त्यो प्रश्न तपाईँलाई गरेको।
त्यस्तो मैले भने नि दर्शकले कन्ज्युम गर्ने प्रोडक्ट भनेको दुई थरीको हो नि त एक त निडको प्रोडक्ट हो अब पेस्ट त किन्नै पर्यो दाँत माझ्नै पर्यो भन्ने कुरा हो भने पर्फ्युम बाई चोइस हो मलाई कुन खाले पर्फ्युम लाउनु छ भनेर सो क्रिकेटमा T20 क्रिकेट चाहिँ उहाँहरूको लागि सायद त्यो अहिलेको निड हो टेस्ट क्रिकेट चाहिँ मेबी अहिले त्यो पर्फ्युम हो उहाँहरूको चोइसमा भर पर्छ जुन मन लाग्छ त्यो बेला हेर्ने भनेर तर हाम्रो आफ्नो यदि क्यानको या क्रिकेट एसोसिएसनको धारणा चाहनुहुन्छ भने हामी चाहिँ दत्तचित्त भएर सकेसम्म चाँडै क्रिकेटको डेभलपमेन्टलाई टेस्टको लेभलमा लिएर जाउँ भन्ने चाहना चाहिँ छ।
अन्तिम प्रश्न दुवैजनालाई छोटो प्रश्न के भन्दा एक वाक्यमा मात्रै अब नेपालसँग 8 म्याच बाँकी छ एकदिवसीयको यो हाइपोथेटिकल क्वेसन हुन सक्ला तर तपाईहरु दुईटै भाग भएर कति म्याच जित्ला र नेपाल र सिलेक्ट होला हैन होला लास्ट क्वेसन
दुईटा सिरिज बाँकी छ दुईटै अब सिरिज हुन्
8 म्याच बाँकी छ छोटो
अब नेपालले डेफिनेटली एउटा स्टेटस रहन्छ नेपालको टप 4 मा पर्नको लागि एक्सट्रिमली राम्रो खेल्न पर्छ
6 म्याच
हैन एक्सट्रिमली राम्रो खेल्न पर्छ टप 4 मा पर्नको लागि अब टप 4 मा नपर्दैपछि हामी
व्यक्तिगत रूपमा एज अ एम्पायर भनिरहेको छैन एज अ पूर्व खेलाडीको हिसाबले
मैले मेरो विचारमा मेरो प्रेडिक्सनमा नेपाल विल रिटेन ओडीआई स्टेटस
8 आउट अफ
त्यसरी ठ्याक्कै प्रेडिक्ट नगरौँ मेरो क्याल्कुलेसनमा एटलिस्ट 6 आउट अफ 8
नजै
8 आउट अफ 8
Wow, great. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Kathmandu Kalinga Festival. अब अर्को पटक गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति लामो सेसन राख्दिनु होला अथवा 2-3टा सेसन राख्दिनु होला क्रिकेटको लागि चाहिँ धेरै क्वेसनहरु चाहिँ हामीले रेज गर्नै पाएका छौं धेरै कुराहरु थिए धेरै एक्सपेक्टेसन सबैले गरिरहनु भएको थियो आशा गरौँ अर्को पटकबाट 2-3टा सेसन हुनेछन् यो सेसन त 45 मिनेटकै हो हामीले 1 घण्टा लियौं अझ लामो समय लियौं थ्यांक यू कलिङ्गा थ्यांक यू बाबुजी थ्यांक यू निरजजी र थ्यांक यू सम्पूर्ण साथीहरु सम्पूर्ण दर्शकहरुलाई नमस्ते
धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद म हाम्रो कालिङ्गा लिटरेचर फेस्टिभलको डाइरेक्टर रञ्जना निरौला म्यामलाई चाहिँ टोकन अफ लभ दिनको लागि अनुरोध गर्दछु एभ्रीवन प्लिज गिभ देम अ राउन्ड अफ अप्लज फेरि पनि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद अब हामी नेक्स्ट सेसन तर्फ लाग्न छौं So the next session is titled Sheer Sacred Landscapes, India and Nepal Cultural Heritage, Pilgrimage and Civilizational Connections. So for this session, we have our speaker Busita Basista and Archana Singh along with our moderator Vikas Gali sir. Please come on the stage. Everyone please give them a huge round of applause. So we have our another speaker, Kuladhar Sargia sir. So please come on the stage. I'm really sorry for the convenience. So before starting the session, I'd like to remind our speakers and moderator that we only have 45 minutes of time. So I hope the session will be concluded within the time frame. So let's start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, host. Thank you so much,
But who is the
all our
anchor,
valuable
moderator?
participants for your presence here. Thank you so much, our panelists, for your valued presence here. We are very lucky to say that today we stand in Lalitpur city, and here currently we are celebrating probably one of the longest festival in the world. It's called the Festival of Bungdoy Karunamay Rato Machdranath, and it is celebrated for more than 6 months every year. And this deity Bungdoy is believed to have been brought here from Assam, Kamakya. So, with this contextual background, in this session, we'll deep dive into our civilizational relationship that are in existence since years back. I want to introduce our panelist present here, Bushita. She is a spiritual practitioner and a poet, a very well-known figure in Nepalese literary fields. Then we have Archana. She is she's a research field focused more on cultural diplomacy. And we have Anubhav. His expertise. Huh? Sorry? What's your name, sir? Kuladhar. I'm so sorry. There was name of another scholar, Anubhav, who was a expert in heritage conservation, but he's not present here. I'm so sorry for the confusion. We have Kuladhar Sheikh. I think he's from Assam, right? And he's very well-known figure in Indian literary field, and it's privilege that we have Musita, Archana, and Kuladhar. First, I want to start our conversation with Kuladhar. Kuladhar, can you please just to prepare a background for our discussion, can you please share with us some of the historical blueprints regard to the sheer sacred sheer landscape on which topic we will be discussing today. So can you please share some of your insights how this concept has been developed since long past?
Thank you very much. And it's a very important topic, not because it's happening only in Kathmandu, but because of the reason I come from a state from India. It's called Assam, who has a very, very long historical connection with Nepal, and we have a lot of Nepali population in our place.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we have our another speaker, Anubhav Nath sir here. So please come on the stage.
But let us keep it here. No problem. We are very happy that you are here with us. Anyway, I was talking about Anubhav. I was talking about the connection between Nepal and my state in India. That's about Assam. I was saying that we are going to have a dialogue today on basically the connections in terms of spirituality, in terms of religion, in terms of trade and customs and cultures. You know how the different exchanges have been taking place over time between India and Nepal, and all along this area. We all know that the cultural bond has been very strong. As I was saying in my place, I'll just mention about my own state because of the fact that my neighborhood where I'm staying in Guwahati now. You must have heard about Guwahati, right? It's the capital of Assam, and where I stay, in front of my house there are 3 Nepali families. Behind me there are Nepali families, and we don't even remember recall who is what. We live like a beautiful whole, that all of us together, we have all sorts of programs and cultural celebrations together. So what I'm saying is, when I was a president of Assam Sahitya Sabha for 3 years. Assam Sahitya Sabha is a 107-year-old organization, the oldest in the country, literary organization. When I was the president there, I used to have normal sessions with the Nepali Sahitya Sabha. We have Nepali Sahitya Sabha in our place, in the state. And we had a lot of programs about how we can translate Assamese literature to Nepalese and from Nepali to Assamese. Why I'm mentioning this is because of one reason, that how not only having the old connections or relations between 2 communities or 3 communities or between 2 countries, the basic fact is today we should have a dialogue on that as well, how we can take these forward. We can talk about a lot of legacies, we can talk about a lot of our journey till now historically, but how to take it forward, that should be one of the points today probably would like to discuss. And 3 things mainly: how the spiritualism helped us in having good connection between these 2 civilizations, and number 1. Number 2, how the literatures were developing on the basis of that spiritualism and other forms of civilization. Number 3 is how the migration of people from one country to another has helped us having a good historical legacy, and how to go forward from it. That's what I would like to give as in the points for it, if you like it.
Thank you so much, Kuladhar. Yeah, first we'll discuss briefly on the context. Then we'll dwell into the way forward points. So, Bushita, I want to come to you. Right? How have you observed, like, how has the concept of sacred landscape shaped the day-to-day practices of the people living in this region, as per your opinion?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to apologize for wearing the glasses. I have corneal keratitis, because of which I have issues with the light. So I beg your pardon. As far as the questions about the everyday lifestyle of people is concerned in this region, I would like to piggyback on what what's his name again? Kuladhar. As far as I would like to piggyback on what you just said, Kuladhar, the name Kuladhar itself has a connection with Nepal in the sense that in the present time, there are 2 potent spiritual paths reigning over the world. I would say first is Tantric path, and the second one is Vedanta. So Vedanta has been preserved in India more or less. The Vedantic tradition has been taken forward by Adi Shankaracharya and henceforth. But Kuladhar has the root name Kul. So from Kul comes the Kaula or the Tantric tradition. Nepal is the epicenter of the Kaula tradition, of the Tantric tradition, and till the date, as you said, as you talked about Ratu Machindranath, and we also have Machindranath's temple in Ujjayan. There is a beautiful book called Nepal, the Birthplace of Kalidasa by Muralidhar Bhattrai. He was a researcher. The book has been published by publication in Banaras, where he talks about the similarities in culture, in architecture between Ujjayan and Nepal. But to go to the point what Kuladhar started, the concept of crystallized borders, or what we would call nation state in socio-political term, these are very recent phenomenon. So it began with Westphalia Treaty in Europe, when people decided that the countries are going to have stable border on the basis of their nationality and geographical territory, and the other countries could not go and invade them. So the whole concept of Nepal and India as separate crystallized two entities is also relatively new. We've been known as Bharatvarsha. So we have been known as the Sabhyata of Bharatvarsha. So civilization, it extends right from Persia, it begins from Iran, and it extends all the way Afghanistan up to Tibet. So we are not talking about countries here, we're talking about civilization. And there is a resonance, as you talked about Ratu Machindranath's Jatra happening currently. There's also Machindranath's temple in Ujjayan. So the Tantric tradition that started from Shiva and was handed over to Machindranath continues to inspire our life in such a way that to this date we're celebrating the festival. So I think we are अविच्छिन्न धारा जो बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, जिसका कभी वो सिलसिला बंद ही नहीं हुआ, वो एक अविच्छिन्न धारा जो बहता हुआ आया है शिवजी से मच्छिंद्रनाथ तक होकर, वो आज भी चलता रहा है. So it definitely has stained all aspects of our life.
Thank you so much, Visita. Now I'll come to Anubhav. Like Anubhav, how has this sacred landscape, the framework under which we are discussing today, right? How has it shaped the iconography, art, architectural linkages, and this region?
Thank you. Firstly, I apologize for interrupting the session and being coming in late. So, borrowing from what my co-panelists have said, there is so much about legacy and shared history and shared civilizations, and all of that is there. But from my practical experience, I want to share a personal experience that happened about, it was in 2016, so about 10 years ago. To give a little backdrop of what I do, I run an arts initiative called Ojas Art, which looks into the tribal and traditional arts of India, essentially. And every year we have an award, an Ojas Art Award, which is dedicated to one particular tribal or traditional art. So in the year 2016, this award was for Mithila Madhubani - Mithila art. Now, coming to what you said, that it's civilizations and regions and not the geopolitical boundaries of today. Mithila extends all the way to where we are sitting right now. From Bihar, it goes up, and it's all the way here. So the award that we had was competitive, and it was entry based, and it was actually, it was for Indian citizens. That's a thing of the award. And we had a lot of entries, and then I actually got entries from Nepal. And because it was announced for Indian citizens, we could not change that. But it was very interesting that it started a dialogue, not just with the artists, but also in my mind about the validity and how important it would have been to actually include all of this, because the Mithila region, the Mithila art that is practiced in the geographical territory of Nepal is probably among the finest. And what you said about the Tantra element of Mithila art, one gets to see more here than in the Madhubani / the Indian counterpart. And so after that, though we were unable to change the award specifications, but we did have the Nepalese artists' works included in the exhibition, because we thought it was very important to give the region that recognition. So that was there. And so this is just an example, something I recollected while this conversation was happening. So the ties and the influences that we have on each other in this civilization cannot be sidelined at all. They're absolutely very important. The architectural things that come up, what you just spoke about, the temple in Ujjain, and so it's this, and Kathmandu. So it's there. I'm sure there are many researches, etc., that are happening. But other than that, it's also, I think, culture is something which cannot be put in a box anyways. It evolves. And that is true with when you see, the kind of students, the Nepalese students that one gets to interact and see in DU, in Delhi University. There's so many students there, not just in DU, but in other colleges. Like India becomes Delhi is definitely a center for education. So one gets to see that. So that is perennial. That will continue to happen. And through that, the cultural exchanges, the cultural influence, food, momos, though I think my Nepalese friends here will not agree to the momos being sold in Delhi as being real momos. They're not. But, that whole influence is very strong. And also because civilization-wise, we are the same. There's no difference, I think. And geographically, we are as close as possible. We cannot be closer than this. So if civilization-wise, racially, and geographically we are so close, then we are the same people, and these boundaries or these borders are just man-made in that sense.
Thank you, Anubhav. Now, Archana, can you please share some of your insights on how this sheer landscape, sacred sheer landscape, has shaped the diplomacy among the countries located in this region?
So let me correct my introduction. So I'm not person from diplomacy studies nor heritage studies. I'm trained philosopher and working in social. But definitely I'll speak on sacred space and diplomacy may be a part of that, because when we talk about this space, India and Nepal, so not only boundary is fluid. So there are so many shared memories that are also there. And sometimes few memories are very dominant. If you talk about, like, both of you have talked about this Nath Sampradaya. So this is one, and then Buddhist tradition is another one. But till now, no one has spoken about this epical memories, this Janak, Nandini, Sita and Ram. So that is the center of our cultural discourse. Whenever we talk about Indo-Nepal relations, we always talk about these things. But there we create a periphery. So on periphery, there is Urmila and Lakshman. So whenever we talk about these kind of memories and these kind of fluid boundaries, we have to ensure that there should not be a center, because so many important heritage things will be on periphery, and since like time, the passage of time, they may disappear from our discourses, from our memories. So it is very political. So we have to document. If we talk about like relations of both countries, so we have to document all these forgotten memories or unexplored memories, not forgotten, but they are in memories, but they are not in somewhere in silence. So we have to talk about that. We have to document. It is for researchers that they have to document this Kanpata Yogi tradition that is very important of Nath traditions. So there are so many things we may study, we may do field work, we may explore like folk and different kind of memories around. So this memory study may help to create a new baggage which is yet unexplored, and we may like get so many things. It's all about emotions. So sometimes the place where this Umla belongs, so they feel that they are marginalized. So we have to think that like na emotionality of that being neglected in the main discourse. So we have, and again another thing is there are multiple meanings in those discourses. So not a single meaning. Yesterday there was a the session in this main hall where there was a discussion about how these Mithila people looks at Ayodhya and how Ayodhya looks. So there was some sort of debate, but actually there are so many layered meanings. So definitely for a researcher, there's unexplored field, and they should go and they should like find out these narratives, untold narratives, forgotten stories, and definitely this will add to this cultural this heritage studies and this sacred, the new meaning of sacred space. Actually sacred space is not a fixed thing, so this may give a new meaning. So I think definitely this will help us to move further.
So, Archana, can you please share with us what were the key impacts that colonial rules that they created in this collective memories and stories, all those things, right?
Yeah, actually, what happened in India, there's a rich tradition in French studies, the Annales School. They have done a lot in memories. But here, most of the works have like centered around uh, very dominant memories. So that's what I am talking about, the forgotten things, or something has been interpolated on those like marginalized memories, some like imposed meaning. So I would love to like know from the people from Nepal how they perceive, especially the youths, ki whether they are aware of this Urmila stories, how they perceive that, how they perceive the pain of invisibility of Urmila character, and how they feel that, how they narrate the pain of separation of Urmila, because we have talked a lot about Ram and Sita. So definitely this may add some new kind of things in gender studies, in memory studies. So this field has a lot of potential.
So, Kaladar, same. I have same queries for you. What do you think? Like, how colonial period uh, like how colonial period reshaped all the collective memories of stories, narrations that we had in regard to this shared landscape.
See, whatever the ancient relations we had because of the colonial, different exercises, geopolitical situations, things started looking differently because of the creation of geographical boundaries. But I feel, said the important 2-3 aspects of that was that, around 19th, early part of 19th century, when the Britishers came to Assam around 1826, they wanted some sort of strong, stout persons to build up their security strength. So they used to get a lot of people from this part of the world. And along with that, they used to take a lot of Nepali people who would contribute for the economy of that time, because a lot of spaces, a lot of empty, vacant areas where they could work together with the local people. That's how a lot of migration and cross migrations used to take place. Plus, the type of history we used to know, like, I'm very glad that you told my name, you rooted back my name to this part of it. I liked it, actually. I didn't know much about it. But all of you are aware of Machendranath and things like that. She was also talking about. Then Gorakhnath, right? And that in Patan, there's a place called Patan. In Patan, you have the chariot festivals, right? In fact, when it started in 12th and 13th century, I believe, originally, that time, the chariot, the architects of those chariots were most of them originally from Assam. Such a beautiful connection we had. Because how I came to know about it recently, in our oldest university in Assam, in Guwahati University, we had a symposium recently on the reflecting the past of Indo-Nepal, relations in terms of civilization. So in that, it was very clear, somebody presented nice in the research papers where it was said that even the charioteers, the architects of the chariot, a lot of them came from Assam. And to that meeting, I think Lalitpur's mayor had come with a team of Nepali people who were, by generation, they were involved in making the chariot also. They also came there. Now, important point is, very, Suryapada? So Suryapada had been a very good connecting thread between all these, Maithili language, then Bengali, Uriya, Assamese and all. Why I was interested about it was, recently Government of India had declared 5 languages as classical language. So one of them was Assamese. And that the report prepared by a few of us, myself, and I took the prime role in preparing that report and submit to the Government of India. We prepared a 394-page report to convince the government that, look, it's a old language of more than 2,000 years, So in that, we talked about Suryapada, And in fact, we do have some workshops sometimes about Suryapada, how to revisit Suryapada and the different dance forms and all. So those were generally hiding during the colonial period. Those are not being highlighted, But as you said, recent times we are we are revisiting those areas again and trying to figure out that very important question, that Machendranath is famous for, he is a metaphor basically of how to keep balance between the ecology and the human society. Right, that time in 12th century when there was a lot of drought and things like that, then only things started moving. That is why we really have to consider how he's been treated as a metaphor of balance between climate and the human society. And in today's world, it is very important. And I would like the Nepali authors and even all Indian authors to go in for some of the climate fictions nowadays, where climate situations have been highlighted in those fictions. So we can go ahead like that. In future, we can talk about the future, framework later.
Thank you so much, Akuladhar. Last year, I want to share this information to the audience as well. Last year, a team led by Mayor of Lalitpur Metropolitan City, they visited Assam to participate in the workshop. Another intention of the visit was to check to create a real link between Assam and Nepal through Matsyendranath. They were expecting to locate some of the evidences which could evidentially link Matsyendranath with the place which is believed to be Vajina one. But unfortunately, they were not able to collect any of such substantial evidences. So this showed that lots of gaps are there in our connections which need to be fulfilled. Now, I hope Anubhav can share some of his insight, like how the gaps that exist in these civilizational connections could be fulfilled through art, architectures, and iconographic, because these are the artifacts, these are the things where the history keeps it as evidences more than in other fields, right?
So I think what would be very important in this regard would be documentation, because the more documentation that one has, the more it further helps in other documentation. It becomes like a secondary research. Primary research is is needed for secondary research. And so all the iconography, the shared histories, it's all there. It's all there. Like just right now on this platform, we are talking, and so many things are coming out, right from ancient times to something as me talking about a contemporary mythal art, where it's all evolved, but it's still rooted in the same way. So documentation would, I think, be very important. Like right now, I was thinking if there was actually, and I'm sure there are organizations out there, if there was a book or something, research done on what I was talking about, the Mithila traditions of the entire Mithila region, or concentrating on just what's happening in Nepal. In fact, to your point, what you mentioned about, how Mithila people view Ayodhya, etc. So Mithila art has a lot of Ram, Sita stories in it. It's centered around that. That's like a central theme of those stories. But actually in the Nepal region, because it's a little further removed from India in that sense, the role and the stories and the depictions of Ram and Sita change a little bit as compared to what will one see in like typical Madhubani. So it's interesting to see. And then the topic about Urmila and Lakshman, that's very fascinating. And so I would say, and this documentation, especially now with the internet being there, of course, that's a double-edged sword, because anyone can say anything. And, then we have the whole WhatsApp university system where fake news or just like incorrect, inaccurate history becomes correct. But the internet, if used properly, is a major tool, which, we have a very young population on both sides. So that is something that can be taken, that could be very beneficial, and they're the beneficiaries also. And AI is the new thing which is there. Unfortunately, I am very behind on that. But I think the effective use of AI, the internet, can be used as a tool for documentation by institutions at various levels. And that would be the basis for us having records of all these things. Like, whatever we are speaking about, having this all recorded and then further researched, it may influence / be, lighter an interest in someone to find out more about a specific thing. So that would be, I think, the documentation part is something at all levels, informal documentation. Another thing is both our cultures have a lot of oral history. So documentation of that oral history is also very important, because oral history then just goes away. With those people who know it and who are repeating it, if it's not documented, it will go away. And it also tends to get exaggerated, etc. So to have correct accounts of that is also very important. So I would say documentation at all levels by everybody is probably be the key to all of this that we are talking about and trying to establish and discover.
Thank you so much, Anubhav. Now, first, I want to come to Busita and then Archana. Like, Busita, can you please share, like, is like the literary traditions that currently we have promoting this concept of a sphere landscape, or is it disintegrating the concept? Is going far away from that concept? What have you felt both in Indian literary traditions and Nepalese literary traditions? And again, after you, like Archana, same questions for you as well. Like, how have you seen, like, whether the concept is being integrated, is strengthened, or is disintegrating along with the time?
Thank you. You must pardon me for not coming to your question right away because there are so many interesting points raised by all my co-panelists, and I would like to give my 2 cents
Sure, please.
about some of the things. Beginning with Anubhav, you talked about how in the Mithila art that you organized, it was only open for the Indian nationals, and that's the irony, right? Like, because the seat of the Mithila civilization was supposed to be in the palace of King Siradhwaja or Janak, who is believed to have been in Janakpur in modern day Nepal. So when we try to give an award to a Mithila art and we go by the post 1947 territory, there's going to be a blunder, in terms of recognizing the gravity of the culture, the dimensions of the culture. And what Archana talked about, Urmila, basically Sita went with Ram into the forest, but Urmila went into 14 years of amnesia, the sleep, right? Like, so that's literally what we are going through. We're going through cultural amnesia. We're all Urmilas in the current time. We've been sleeping through this entire unfolding of the contemporary history. So I would also like to touch upon a little bit about the colonial history, because the India has had history of different colonial invasions, but what we understand by colonialism, it basically begins with 18th century invasion of East India Company. But prior to that, we had Mughal invasion. So Mughal invasion, if we go by the date, if I'm not incorrect, it dates back to 11th century. But we have Sri Harsha's Naishadya Charitam. So I think it was written in 12th century, and it mentions Nepal. So the existence of Nepal as a geographical entity is older than the colonial history, older than the Mughal invasion, older definitely than the East India invasion. But at the current time, what Anubhav talked about, documentation, I think the documentation is slightly the tricky part here, because unlike the post Renaissance concept of author, the concept of author we had in this part of the world was not about the one who has the authority on the subject. We had 2 categories, Srashta and Drashta. What we know by author is Srashta, but when we talk about Agam Sahityas like Ved, they considered themselves Drashta. They saw something, they were not the author. So even when you go to writers like Abhinav Gupta, we cannot date his exact birth date or his exact place of birth. When we go to Kalidas, we cannot go back to the exact place of birth or date, because they considered they were not important. They said that my identity as an author, my identity as where I was born is not significant. What I'm giving out to the world is more important. And speaking about documentation, some people argue that Kalidas was born in Nepal based on the first sarga of Kumar Sambhavam, which says, अस्त्युत्तरस्यां दिशि देवतात्मा हिमालयो नाम नगाधिराजः पूर्वापरौ तोयनिधिर्वगाय स्थितः पृथिव्या इव मानदण्डः. So Nagadhirajah, Naga Adhirajah, the kings of Nepal were called Mahadiraj. Right? Like Adhiraz. The title of the kings in Nepal was Adhiraz. So on the basis of this word Adhiraz, Nagadhiraz, there are some scholars who are arguing that the Kalidas the title, maybe Kalidas, maybe the title, but the poet was born in Nepal. So documentation is not what we perceive, is not straightforward, is not statistical, numerical, like what the Westerner perceive as facts and figure. Our history is embedded within the metaphors. So it requires a lot of rigor on the part of the scholars to be able to unfurl the metaphors. Training, exactly, right? Like, and what does Urmila signify? What does her amnesia signify for the contemporary history of Mithila and Ayodhya? So it's not just enough to sit down and talk. We need to develop vocabulary to understand the metaphor. If Nagadhiraz, the word Adhiraz simply could locate the king in Nepal, then I think Adhiraz could be a synonym for so many different things. You need a very specific vocabulary to be able to understand the documentations inside our history. So I would say that, coming to your question, I would say that the literary festivals have definitely initiated the conversation, because unless we initiate a conversation, we do not realize we do not have vocabulary for it. So I hope that with panels like this, we can at least realize we do not have apparatuses, we do not have technology, the linguistic technology to decode whatever has been documented. So this is definitely the point of departure.
So, yeah, just what she has said. So I would like to add, because the documentation, what Anubhav has shared, actually this is very tricky. And you have to dig deep to get the forgotten narratives. On the other hand, you have to have that lens, and that may come through a training. So this is the this kind of platforms helps us. This not only, this one session may not train us, but this will definitely give us some sort of perspective how to look at things. And another very interesting, what are the problems in documentation and all these shared spaces? So I visited Mayong. I had a memory of like Jag Machinder Gora Khaya. So I was fascinated that there's a place in near Guwahati, and where Machinnath was supposed to, he went there and he stayed there, and then Gorakhnath went to like call him back to do this work, this sector work. So when I went there, so I was surprised. So this is the part of, this is very important for heritage studies, what we are documenting, that is the right narrative or not. So when I entered in that area, I saw different banners. We don't practice black magic now. And I was surprised. This was a very rich healing tradition, which has been stigmatized by modern market and colonial lens. This is something, this should not be shared. Yes, yes, yes. So that was very problematic, and definitely because of my inability to speak Assamese, and I was not well aware of. So there was a research scholar who helped me to. So I visited the village. I talked to. I saw that museum, that village museum in Mayong. But there are very interesting artifacts. But definitely there should be a trained curator who can document the whole trajectory of developing that artifact. So one problem, this is very serious problem. And another problem is with this Mithila painting. So in my institute, we organized a workshop on Mithila painting, and we invited. So when I was talking to them, we are good in getting. I'm from GB Pant Social Science Institute, Prayagraj. So they were sharing that initially lot of forest and these things motifs were there, and now this Ram, Sita, they are becoming dominant. So in Nepal, you may be better person. Nepal, there may be different way of portraying those things, like different kind of Jankis. Sometimes portraying Janki as Hirni, and there are so actually there are so many hidden meanings. And what we are doing, because now this heritage studies, they have to save themselves from market. Because when market will dominate, you will document only sellable things, sellable narratives, sellable motifs, sellable artifacts. So that museum in Mayong is wonderful museum. So they have a very interesting kind of instrument which they claim ki they can catch lion in Guwahati from Mayong, 35 or 40 kilometers away. So there are so many things, but actually a person who is well aware of that, rooted in that culture, that person may, that's why this fellowship tradition is very good. Ki you may give some sort of fellowship to local young scholars who are rooted in their culture. And this kind of hidden narratives and this amnesia, and you can get all those narratives only when a person who is rooted in that culture, only that person may decode. Any researcher trained in Harvard, Cambridge can't do. So the person who can internalize the whole thing, that emotionality to connect with that, like the that narrative forced me to visit Payong कि ये कौन सी जगह है जहाँ पे मछेंद्रनाथ भी फंस गए थे. I want to feel that space. कि भाई for me मछेंद्रनाथ was a guru. अगर वो फंस गए थे तो क्या है वहाँ पे? And that is a beautiful place. So we have to decode that. And scholars there are working on different kind of theoretical things. So we have to focus on this cultural narratives, folk narratives, and that I think that may help us to develop the real kind of meaning of sacred spaces, shared memories.
I would like to add something, Archana. This pertains to what Kuladip spoke earlier about Choryapada. আমার কি বাঙালি অনেকটা ভালো লাগে কিন্তু আমি বলতে পারি না. So I was amazed when I found out that Choryapad was written in Bangla, right? It was found in Oriya. Yes. But interestingly enough, just as Choryapada was found in that part of the world, there have been discovery about Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. So I think Kamlesh Datta Tripathi, he is also, now they are creating a critical edition. They're publishing it from Banaras about, and it was written in Newa Lipi. So Newari language, it was, so this is a new addition to Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. And I think Kashyap Samhita, we know Shusrut Samhita, we know Charak Samhita. So the pediatric part of the Ayurveda, that was also found in Nepal. So the literature has been scattered all over this region. No, we can't really claim that they pertain to a specific geographical location.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vishita and Archana, for like your approach to promote local narratives. Thank you so much. We have very vibrant audience present here. I want to open this floor for our audiences. Please share some of your insights or queries, and also please share to which panelist you want to direct your queries. And I hope your query will help us to make this session even more complete. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I have two specific questions. I would like to ask Mr. Saikai. This is the very first time I heard a Assamese name with that last name. And I'm extremely curious because I was schooled in India for 10 years. And all I had Assami friends, Barua and Fukan. So that is a very specific question about your identity. And my question, another question for Assamese people are,
India has always competed for a limited resource. So there's a lot of competitiveness in Indians is my anecdotal conclusion. This could be challenged statistically, but anecdotally, what I saw that Nepali people are far more relaxed. We are we can almost say we're complacent and lazy. And I think that is an outcome of never having been colonized, have always been sovereign. So there is both pros and cons to being the only, maybe I think Bhutan is also non-colonized country. So maybe not the only non-colonized country in South Asia, but one of the very few non-colonized country in Nepal. The pro is we are extremely I think our psyche is extremely untraumatized. I think there is more integral, we are more intact inside. And we're also, there is no trust deficit. We're very welcoming. I think Nepali people are known all around the world for their hospitality because we don't perceive anybody could be an enemy. We don't think they are here to colonize us. So we open everybody with open arms. So there is no trust deficit. But the con is we're also extremely lethargic. There's no competitiveness. And that is probably why the Nobel laureates like Jagadish Chandra Bose, Ravi Thakur, and Amartya Sen, incidentally, all Bengali-speaking geniuses, they won Nobel Prize. We are nowhere close to winning Nobel Prize, nowhere close to winning Olympics. So we lack in competitiveness. We can maybe improve a little bit, and maybe we can share our panache, our overflowing trust and hospitality with Indian folks.
Thank you so much, Vasita. The discussion was really good. One last question, please. Thank you.
नमस्कार मैले अब यो औपनिवेशिक भाषामा त्यति प्रवीण छैन है अब यही बोलिराख्ने भाषामै बोले त्यहाँ औपनिवेशिक भाषाको प्रवीणहरू हुनुहुन्छ अहिले उल्था गर्दिनु होला कुलादारज्यू नमस्कार खुसी लाग्यो यहाँलाई देखेर हैन एउटा सुरुको वक्ताले भन्नुभएको कुरा चाहिँ मलाई अलिकति अमिलो जस्तो लागेर सच्याउनु पर्छ कि भन्ने जस्तो लाग्यो हैन जस्तो के अरे शङ्कराचार्यको वेदान्त र तन्त्रलाई एकै ठाउँमा राखेर भन्नु उहाँले वेदान्त भनेको दर्शन हो तन्त्र भनेको चाहिँ प्रविधि हो अहिलेको भाषा भन्नुपर्दा औपनिवेशिक शब्दमा टेक्नोलोजी तर हाम्रो प्रविधि चाहिँ के हो त भन्दा प्रकृतिलाई नै प्रयोग गर्ने हो कुनै डाटा सेन्टर बनाएर चाहिँ ग्लोबल वार्मिङ बढाउने अथवा प्रदूषण बढाउने त्यस्तो प्रविधि होइन हैन आफ्नो शरीरलाई नै जस्तो दधिची ऋषिले आफ्नो शरीरलाई नै प्रयोग गरेर अश्विनी कुमारहरूलाई मधुविद्या दिएको कुरा आउँछ नि हाम्रो प्रविधि चाहिँ के हो त्यहीबाट चाहिँ प्रजातन्त्र आउँछ अर्थतन्त्र आउँछ हैन अनि तन्त्रको विषयमा एउटा अझै पनि एउटा गलत बुझाइ रहेको जस्तो मैले पाएँ हैन तन्त्र भनेको चाहिँ जस्तो अब दुरुपयोग त अब यो अहिलेको प्रविधि नै भइरहेछ नि त हैन मोबाइलले दुरुपयोग गरेर मान्छे मारिरहेको कुरा नि आयो हैन युद्धको बेलामा हैन अब गाडी नै पड्केको कुरा नि आयो
हामीसँग समय एकदमै कम भएकोले
तन्त्रमा पनि त्यस्तो गलत प्रयोगहरू पनि छन् होला हैन र चाहिँ त्यसको चाहिँ सही प्रयोग चाहिँ मानव हितको लागि छ लोकहितको लागि छ हैन अब फेरि शङ्कराचार्य दर्शनको मात्रै होइन उहाँले सौन्दर्य लहरी भनेर चाहिँ अब के अरे तन्त्रको पुस्तकहरू पनि लेख्नु भएको छ र हाम्रो र अनि म चाहिँ कामरूप भन्न चाहन्छु होइन यो औपनिवेशिक शब्द प्रयोग गर्न चाहिन आसाम चाहिँ उनीहरूले हाम्रो कामरूपलाई चाहिँ इतिहासबाट चाहिँ उच्छेद गराउनलाई सुरु गरेको शब्द हो होइन आसाम भनेपछि हामी औपनिवेश कालभन्दा अगाडि जानै सकिँदैन कामाख्या देवीको मन्त्र हेर्नुहोस् उहाँको स्तोत्र हेर्नुहोस् कामरूप भनेर आउँछ कामरूप मा कामरूपी होइन कामरूप नीला बासिनी भन्न आउँछ होइन अब हामीले त्यसलाई अर्कै शब्द प्रयोग गरेपछि त हाम्रो कामरूपको त शास्त्रबाट त सम्बन्ध टुट्यो नि त त्यही भएर तपाईँ मार्फत म के भन्न चाहन्छु भने कुलादारज्यू मार्फत होइन हाम्रो मचिन्द्रनाथको सम्बन्ध पनि छ होइन कामरूप त मलाई दोस्रो देश जस्तै लाग्दैन हाम्रो नेपालको पनि पुरानो चाहिँ तपाईँको इतिहासहरूमा के आउँछ भने हाम्रो पूर्वको सिमाना भनेको कामरूप कामाख्या भन्न आउँछ कामरूप मात्रै आउँदैन कामरूप कामाख्या भन्न आउँछ त्यो भएर कामरूप नै भनौँ हामीले नेपालमा चाहिँ कमसेकम होइन हाम्रो अनि धेरै कुराहरू पनि मिल्दछ जस्तो आली भन्छ हाम्रो झापामा चारै आली भन्ने ठाउँै छ त्यो कामरूपीबाटै आएको हो होइन अब जस्तो हामी दाल भात तरकारी भन्छौँ होइन अब इन्डियामा अन्त कतै भनिँदैन कामरूपमै दाल भात तरकारी नै भनिन्छ होइन
तपाईको कुरा मैले ट्रान्सलेट बरु अलिअलि बिचमा गरिदिँदै गर्छु उहाँले पनि बुझ्नु
मेरो अब छोटा यहाँले होइन मैले भन्न खोजेको कुरा चाहिँ के हो भने हाम्रो चाहिँ औपनिवेशिक भाष्य औपनिवेशिक स्थापित मान्यताबाट जबसम्म मुक्त हुँदैन भने हामीले चाहिँ स्वतन्त्र रूपले हाम्रो पुराना प्रविधिहरू हाम्रो चाहिँ वातावरण प्रविधि प्राकृतिक प्रविधिहरूलाई हेर्न सक्दैनौँ त्यो भएर कामरूपलाई चाहिँ कामरूपै भन्नमा चाहिँ यहाँले के यसको बारेमा हजुरको विचार के छ यो सोधेँ मैले धन्यवाद
Do you want me to translate the question for you? So he is against the imperial language, which whereby we mean English in this context. So he's not using the language, English language. He's asked a long question, the long and short of which is, Assam used to be known as Kamarup, and we find the scriptures where Assam has been, where Kamarup has been mentioned time and again. So when we mention that region, when we name that region Assam, we can only go to the history that precedes up to colonial history. We cannot understand the pre-colonial history of the region. So do you think that we should much rather call Assam Kamarup in order to facilitate the pre-colonial understanding of the pre-colonial history of the region, right?
मैं तो इंग्लिश में बोल सकता हूँ ना. I can speak in English. Nepali तो जानता ही नहीं. I don't even know Nepalese, but I did understand a little bit of it. Very interesting question you have raised. The point is, see, we all know ancient name of the particular land of mass and the people in that area was known as Kamrupa. It was up to the border of Bihar, very old I'm talking about. And slowly and gradually, in fact, slowly and gradually when the Mughal came, then the things were becoming different because they came, attacked the Kamrupa as such. And after that, a lot of expansion took place when Ahom dynasty had, defended themselves and chased them away. So this was all taking place in the history. But the name slowly and gradually it came to Assam because old Kamrupa were expanding towards the eastern part of it, where there were different small kingdoms like Kachari kingdom, Sonwals and things like that. So finally, the whole area became Assam, all right? And the particular name of Assam, it means, unparalleled or some, meaning some is equal or is not, meaning it's unparalleled, that sort of a thing. So there are a lot of things about it. I did study when I was making a report on language. Only thing I would like to tell everyone here, apart from that, your question and answer, I just want to request all of you one particular thing that I'm sure you also have smaller languages in Nepal. Do you have smaller languages? Yes. Huh?
Yeah, we have.
Huh? Yeah. So in Northeast, in our place, we have lot of languages, very small languages in the sense that hardly few thousand people speak. I have been fighting for this cause all over for last several years, is that all over the world, languages are getting extinct. Smaller languages are dying out. It's called linguicide. A language when it's a homicide of a language. It's called linguicide. A lot of languages are dying from the world. Now at present, we have in the world around 7,000 languages only. Earlier, it was much more. When language is not a tool of communication alone. It's an identity. This is the culture. This is the identity of a community, right? Everything, emotion, culture, tradition, all comes in a language. If you allow any language, whatever small it is, if you allow it to die, then the whole storehouse of knowledge of that particular community is lost. So please see to it that all languages, however small or big, they should not be left to die. Yeah, I'm saying this because of these two, our panelists were talking about very good thing. And he also first mentioned about the documentation. Languages, if you have scripts, you can document. But document, the scripts came very later. Oral is the most important part of the storehouse of knowledge. When a language dies, the last man speaking that particular language, all information, all knowledge will go with him. So the basic way is to conserve, preserve, and allow the language to grow whichever way you like it. That is just a appeal to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your active participation. This is just the beginning. Let's make this session a beginning of the discourse. We'll see you soon in another such events with a similar thematic coverage. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session. Now I would like to call Dhirendra Premarsi sir to represent them the token of love. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Hello.
Once again, thank you very Once again, thank you very much to our speaker, India and Nepal cultural haze and its connections. So moving forward, our next session is titled Month Karnali Rising. So for this session, I'd like to call our speakers, Astha Raut ma'am, Smarika Fuyal ma'am, Madhav Chaulagai sir, and Dhirendra Premarsi sir. along with our moderator Anil Yadav sir. Please come on the stage. Everyone, please give them a huge round of applause.
होइन खास स्किन नगर्ने भने थियो स्किन भएको छ होला जस्तो लागेको थियो कि मलाई स्किन भएको स्किन भएको हल चाहिँ परेन सुरु गरौँ है त हेलो तपाईहरु सबैलाई स्वागत छ मान्छ जुरुक्क कर्णाली यो सेसनमा कर्णाली केवल यो एउटा नदीको नाम मात्रै होइन भूगोलको नाम मात्रै होइन यसको एउटा जीवन्त इतिहास छ अथाह सङ्घर्ष जीवन्त एउटा तपाईको संस्कृति र रैथाने सौन्दर्यको एउटा यो महाकाव्य नै हो कर्णाली माथि यो सधैँ राज्यबाट सधैँ उपेक्षामा परेको यो भूगोलमाथि पछिल्लो समय नेपाली सिनेमा साहित्य र कलामा लगातार यसको उपस्थिति हुन थालेको छ जीवन्त प्रस्तुति हुन थालेको छ बुद्धिसागरको कर्णाली ब्लुज राधा पौडेलको खलङ्गमा हमला हाम्रो माधव सरकै सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली अनि सुनिल पोखरेलको नाटक कर्णाली दक्षिण बग्दो छ नाटकमा आयो कर्णाली त्यसरी मिनमामको कालो पोथी एरिक भेलीको क्याराभान र हुँदा हुँदा आज मान्छ जुरुक्क कर्णाली भएर गीतमा पनि यसरी कर्णालीको विमर्श भइरहेको छ हो होइन धेरै छ मैले केही उदाहरणहरू मात्रै दिएको र आज हामी यो मान्छ जुरुक्क कर्णालीले जसरी देशभरि मान्छेहरूलाई जुरुक्क उचाल्यो त्यो गीतमाथि हामी आज विमर्श गर्दैछौँ कर्णाली साहित्य कला र सङ्गीतहरूमा आउँदै गर्दाखेरि यो राज्यबाट किन उपेक्षामा पर्यो र यसलाई अब कसरी जुरुक्क उचाल्न सकिन्छ आज हामी यो बहस यसमा केन्द्रित गर्नेछौँ सुरुमा म यो बहसलाई सुरु गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि सुरुमा यो जुन गीत हामीले एकदमै धेरै दर्शकहरूले रुचाए यो जुरुक्क कर्णाली भन्ने गीत एकपटक थोरै सुनौँ कि जस्तो लाग्यो त्यसबाटै सुरु गरौँ कि जस्तो लाग्यो यो सेसनलाई
text you were read by people, and those against colonialism used. So Edmund Burke, eminent conservative theorist, a parliamentarian, his ideas were taken into freedom movement as well. People started quoting him, who was the first person to say that Britishers used to say this is a white man's burden to civilize everyone. So Edmund Burke says, while an existing civilization is there, who are you to go and destroy that civilization? Burke was a conservative politician and member of parliament. So anyway, so we knew about them. We read about them. And Gandhi, Vivekanand, Subhas, Aurobindo, all the figures, those who actually engaged with the Britishers through literature and writing, they wrote in English. He becomes a tool. Especially coming back to South Asian case, अगर हम दक्षिण एशियाई बात करें, तो महादेश उपमहादेश की बात करें, यहाँ पे काफी सारे सभ्यताएं ऐसे हैं जो लैंग्वेज के बेस पे हैं, क्रॉस बॉर्डर ट्रांसलेशन सामने ऐसे किल में होना और यहाँ बागमती रिवर के पास आके पहुंचे, जगन्नाथ जी को क्रॉस करके पशुपतिनाथ तक पहुंचे, तो क्या रोल प्ले कर सकते हैं हम लोग, अगर छोटा सा क्विक पॉइंटर्स?
It's very good question. So, of course, translation needs big efforts. It's some philosophers said that translators is co-writers also, mentally also. Though our respected source AI makes it easy, but it needs devotion to translate because it's a huge task. And similarly, in South Asia, I know we share the similarities. Devanagari lipi, we share some Sanskrit lipis, that. But another thing is, of course, publications. And translator cannot be volunteer. I am also translating, and more than 100 poems I translate without money, without taking. I took only one time, two time I took. I told them I don't have time. I give something to me also. Even Ranjana, I asked Ranjana even this brother now is asking me money. He said, so it takes time and also energy and our effort. So I think one thing is that translator also must be paid. Yeah, then translation will be the more attractive things. One. Another thing is that of course we need to make this kind of conference. So many our Nepali writers are nowadays translating, because so many foreigners are coming. What's your publication? They are asking, and then they need to give some hand over some books. That's why also they are translating. It means this kind of conferences also needed, discussion also needed. We need to make new narratives across the our South Asia so that we can cross that borders. And the purpose of translation is so many philosophers to make connecting the world and make peace. Yeah, that's you can solve. I
Thank
think I will not talk much.
Thank you. I would like to mention something about the translation efforts in Nepal so that our Indian scholar friends will convey this to Indian University. We who earned the first translation degree from the University of Hyderabad in 95, some 30 years ago. Once back, I realized the importance of translation, more important than the your mother tongue. So we established not department. In the department, we started the translation studies courses for the first time in Privy University after my return. And this Balaram, Dr. Balaram is the first PhD scholar from Nepal. You see, I have some translation 10 books. Balaram has also some 5 books. There are 6 more scholars who have earned translation studies degree from Nepal. If you have any seminars of international type somewhere in the far north or south, we will try to meet again. We have visited Assam again and again. Because of translation only, one of our friends, our students, has translated Tirakural. No? Tirakural into Nepali. It was a 6 years project, and I tried to write some introduction to Tirakural volume also. See how translation connects our world. And this time, Sahitya Academy has sponsored the translation of Hazarika. No, Hazarika.
Open Hazarika.
Bhupen Hazarika's life and works into 24 languages of India, Nepali being one, not from Nepal. The Indian Nepali writers have translated Hazarika also into Nepali. So this, I think, a kind of internalize of scholarly activities, human civilization, transfer of human civilization. And I have also translated the Nepali Ramayana by our poet Bhanubhakta and have submitted the same book for publication at the Cultural Institution of SARC in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
Same question, yeah.
कतिपय कुराहरू त most of things might get repeated. That's why, to avoid redundancy, I'll just focus on some areas. First thing, at the individual level, we have been doing a lot. As he started, and then we came as his followers, and then we were trained. Yeah. But again, we have some limitations. First thing that when we talk about this rich multilingual landscape of South Asia, the translation among these, हाम्रो भित्रभित्रको आफ्नो भाषाहरूको बिचको this Hindi and Nepali fine, because one thing I think our scholars, Indian scholars, that I would like to just let you know that the early foundation of Nepali literature was based on Bangla and then later Hindi literature, and later coming to 1950, 30 to 50, then we shifted to centric American, English literature. It means Hindi has been a very rich resource. Not only that, another thing that even our education system, early education system was highly shaped by the Hindi literature in the text that came to.
Did Sanskrit literature play any role?
Yeah, obviously that came earlier, because I call that vertical translation. Translation from Sanskrit to Nepali, Columbia, translation was the contemporary languages. But the problem is that when we say translation, is we only think that translation from Nepali to English, vice versa.
Okay.
Because we are being so much because of its, it yeah.
Should you prefer
Thank you so much. As we wrap up this session, thank you everyone for joining. And absolutely, we have stuck to time. And I wish we had more rounds of discussion.
हामी त टाइममा सकेको सर एक्सलेन्ट
भयो एउटा चाहिँ सिङ्गो कवितालाई बुझेर एक्सप्रेसन गर्नु छ भने त्यो ज्ञानको एउटा लेयर हैन एउटा नयाँ डाइमेन्सन पनि थप्छ भन्ने जस्तो देखिँदो रहेछ।
धीरेन्द्रजी जस्तो यो गीतमा सङ्गीत गर्दै गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ तपाईँको दिमागमा के थियो खास कुरा? जस्तो कर्णालीको भूगोल थियो कि या त्यो श्रोताको राष्ट्रिय श्रोताको कान हैन के थियो खास तपाईँको भूगोलमा तपाईँको दिमागमा?
सङ्गीत गर्दा म एकदमै सङ्गीतमा चुर्लुम्म डुबेको वा कहलिएको मान्छे होइन। सङ्गीत मेरो एक किसिमले पेसा पनि होइन। तर मेरो हिसाबले सङ्गीत गर्नु भनेको शब्दलाई त्यसले बग्न खोजेकै बाटोलाई अलिकति सफा पारिदिने मात्रै हो होइन। मैले चाहिँ वास्तवमा त्यही नै गर्ने प्रयास गरेको हुँ र त्यो क्रममा हामी जोडियौँ सबै। यसमा चाहिँ मैले भनिहालेँ कर्णाली अलरेडी मेरो मानसपटलमा छँदै थियो। त्यसपछि यसको शब्दहरूले बोलिरहेको जुन कुरा छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ नै अलिकति आवरण दिउँ, आकृति दिउँ। अलिकति मलाई लाग्छ योभन्दा अगाडिको कुरामा थोरै जाँदा जुन शब्दको कुरा आयो, प्राय गीतहरूको कुरा आउँदा जटिल भयो, यो भयो, अप्ठ्यारो भयो भनेर पहिल्यै चाहिँ नि मैथिली में जो कहे छे जुआ झाँक दै छे, जुआ झाँका वाला का सब लोग बेसी करे छे। त्यो चाहिँ नै मलाई अलिकति ठीक लाग्दैन। वास्तवमा प्रस्तुति कसरी दिने? यहाँ भूषिता हुनुहुन्छ, एकदम संस्कृतका कस्ता जटिल जटिल भनिने श्लोकहरूलाई उहाँले जसरी व्याख्या गर्नुहुन्छ एकदम सरल भइदिन्छ। देवी नेपाल हुनुहुन्छ, एकदम सलाद कविता लेखेर सिङ्गो नेपाललाई यसरी जोडिदिनुहुन्छ कि सजिलो हुन्छ। त्यो वास्तवमा त्यो कलात्मकताले, प्रस्तुतिको सहजताले चाहिँ त्यसलाई साँच्चीकै त्यो आवरण दिँदा त्यो प्रवाहमय हुन जान्छ र यसमा पनि त्यही नै भएको हो। तर समग्रमा अन्तिमको रिजल्टसम्म आउँदा मलाई चाहिँ नि यसमा सबैको जुन भाव रह्यो, सद्भाव र सहकार्य, फेरि पनि म त्यतैतिर जान्छु र केही अरू व्यक्ति जस्तो यसमा सङ्गीत संयोजन भनिन्छ, त्यसमा हाम्रो रोमी बस्नेत लगायत जदौ हजुर ब्यान्डले जुन किसिमले त्यो काम गर्यो त्यो महत्त्वपूर्ण। अनि साना साना कुराहरूमा यो शब्द यसो गरौँ है,
यसमा यो खोजौँ मैले भनौँ न हाम्रो जुरुक्क कर्णाली नै सबभन्दा अन्तिममा गएर जोडिएको त्यो प्रोग्रामको जुन शीर्षक हो त्यो चाहिँ यो गीतमा हालौँ त्यसरी जोडौँ हाम्रो शिशिर योगी हुनुहुन्थ्यो निरन्तर चाहिँ नि उसमा हुनुहुन्थ्यो अनि मलाई अब यहाँ भन्नुपर्छ क्या अघि मैले
समयको सिग्नल पनि आइरहेछ मलाई
सेलिब्रिटीको कुरा त गरेँ आस्थालाई जोडिसकेपछि अब अर्को यहाँ टेन्सन हामीलाई चाहिँ नि ल अब म छँदैछु त्यो अर्को फुच्चीलाई चाहिँ किन जोड्नु पर्यो मै छु भनेपछि ल है आस्था यस्तो यस्तो छ एउटा नयाँ बहिनीलाई चाहिँ यसो कुरा गरिएछ हुन्छ नि भएपछि बडो सहजता साथ यति राम्रोसँग त्यसपछि दुवैजनाले गरे अर्को त्यो दुईटी बहिनीलाई पनि सम्झिनु पर्छ हैन लक्ष्मी राणा र निशु हैन यी सबैको बडो शानदार सहयोग सहकार्य सबै मिसिएर चाहिँ नि मलाई लाग्छ सहयोग गरे त्यसले गर्दा त्यो संगीत पनि त्यसरी बनेको गीत पनि त्यसरी बनेको आवाज पनि त्यसरी बन्दै गएको हैन र प्रस्तुतिमा त अब आगो बालिहाल्छन् र अघि माधव सरले भन्नुभयो जस्तै मिथिला म्यामको जुन डान्स प्रतिको बुझाइ त्यो प्रस्तुत गराइ एउटा कुरा म यहाँ भन्छु है थुप्रै गायक गायिकाहरू अहिले पनि यस्ता छन् गीत त गाउने हो गाइदिने हो हैन जे छ थुप्रैलाई आफूले गाइसकेको गीतको पनि अर्थ थाहा हुन्न यिनले मलाई दुःख दिएर पहिल्यै दिनदेखि पापा यो के हो यो भनेको जम्मै मलाई बोलेर अर्थ लगाएर पठाइदिनु यो एउटा ठुलो कुरो हो वास्तवमा नेपालको सांगीतिक क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ ठुलो कुरो कि पहिला गीतलाई बुझौँ त्यसपछि पो फिल गर्न सकिने हो अन्त म त रिहर्सलको बेला पछाडि हेर्थेँ अनि यो आस्थाको त्यो हावभाव आदि इत्यादि उसले त्यसलाई चाहिँ नि पचाएको जुन देख्थेँ अलि यो गजब चिज छ भनेर अनि प्रदर्शनको बेलामा गायिकाहरूलाई पछाडि राखे पनि भइगयो डान्स होइन त्यो चाहिँ हुँदैन यिनीहरूलाई देखिएन भने यो गीतको अर्थ छैन भने मैले चाहिँ त्यो क्यामेरा चाहिँ नि अरू कतै जे जस्तो जाओस् गायिकाको एक्सप्रेसन चाहिँ कम्प्लिटली आउनुपर्छ भनेर त्यता पनि थियौँ सारा चिज मिलेर एउटा वातावरण
अब आस्थाजी र स्मारिकाजीलाई छोटकरीमा जस्तो यो गीतमा चाहिँ गाउँदै गर्दाखेरि कर्णालीको चाहिँ मर्मलाई चाहिँ स्वरमा भर्नका लागि चाहिँ कर्णालीको मर्म ल्याउनको लागि चाहिँ कसरी काम गर्नुभयो त्यसमा चाहिँ स्वर आफ्नो स्वरमा कर्णालीको मर्म ल्याउनका लागि भर्नका लागि छोटकरीमा है यहाँ समयको अलिकति
छोटकरी त हो तर अलिकति भूमिका बाँध्नै पर्ने हुन्छ म चाहिँ 8 वर्षको हुँदा चाहिँ फर्स्ट रेकर्डेड बालगीत चाहिँ पनि वुमेन भनौँ न चाइल्ड राइट्सको लागि थियो छोरीको लागि थियो र मेरो चाहे झुम्के बुलाकी होस् चाहे फाटुने माइतीको चिनो होस् चाहे को छ यहाँ होस् everything is like about women's rights र women's को feelings र को छ यहाँ चाहिँ स्पेशली अझै ग्लोबल ह्युमन्स को लागि हो सो ज्यादा जस्तो गीतहरू मैले चाहिँ सकारात्मक सोच र सोसाइटीमा परिवर्तन मैले म एज एन आर्टिस्ट आई एम जस्ट नट एन एन्टरटेनर म चाहिँ परिवर्तनको सम्भाग हुनुपर्छ आस्था राउत जे हो मान्छे जे हो त्यही देखिन्छ फेक होइन यसले सहीलाई सही भन्छ गलतलाई गलत भन्छ भन्ने चाहिँ त्यो मान्छेमा हुनुपर्छ त्यो एक्सेप्टेन्स हुनुपर्छ मान्छेले म जस्तो छु त्यस्तै एक्सेप्ट गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने मेरो मान्यता हो र मेरो गीत नै मेरो सोच हो के जति पनि मैले गीतहरू छ हजुरले गएर खोज्नु होला सुन्नु होला जे पनि छ त्यो गीत सबै मेरो भावना हो मैले यस्तो गरौँ यस्तो गीत गरौँ भनेर मेरो गुरु मेरो मामुलाई भन्छु म आफू चाहिँ हुन चाहिँ लिटरेचरको स्टुडेन्ट हो मैले ब्याचलर्स मेजर इङ्ग्लिस मास कम्युनिकेसन जर्नलिजममा गरेको हो तर मैले मास्टर्स चाहिँ त्यसमा गरिनँ जर्नलिजम मास कम्युनिकेसन हो तर ममा लेख्ने साहित्य लेख्नेमा चाहिँ छैन मेरो तर मेरो दिमाग र मनमा चाहिँ हुन्छ त्यो भावना चाहिँ अरूले लेखिदिनुहुन्छ अब त्यसमा चाहिँ म कमजोर भन्न सक्छु तर मेरो प्रस्तुतिमा चाहिँ म कमजोर छैन र यो गीत चाहिँ मैले एउटा मेरो जिन्दगीको एकदमै भन्छ नि मान्छेलाई सुन चाँदी हिरा मोती होइन के जुरुक्क कर्णाली मेरो लागि चाहिँ यो सुन चाँदी हिरा मोती भन्दा धेरै माथिको एउटा यति सुन्दर उपहार हो जुन चाहिँ मैले अरूलाई पनि आफ्नो शब्द आफूले अनि अर्को कुरा एउटा कुरा भन्न चाहे कतिले मलाई भन्नुहुन्छ कतिचोटि म अलिकति कन्ट्रोभर्सियल पनि हुन्छु कि मैले के भन्छु भने शब्दको उच्चारण, शब्दको भाव, शब्दको उच्चारण सहस्र अश्वमा चढी म बन्छु विश्व। सहस्र अश्व, अब यस्तो यस्तो हरेक माइन्युट डिटेल्स पनि हामीले हेरेर गाउनुपर्छ। र म अरू मेरो कन्टेस्टेन्ट जब पनि म रियालिटी सोहरू गर्छु कुनै पनि मा छु भनेपछि मेरो कन्टेस्टेन्टले त्यो गरेर गाएको हुँदैन। त्यो शब्द उच्चारण, त्यो भावना, त्यो शब्दको उच्चारणै छैन भने त्यो गीतको मर्मै छैन, त्यो शब्दको भावै मर्छ के। त्यो स्टाइल होइन के। हामीले त्यो शब्दलाई राम्रो प्रोनाउन्सै गर्न सकेन भने त्यसको भावना कसरी हामीले रिलेट गर्ने गरेर त हुँदैन होला त्यस्तो गीतहरू पनि। तर जब समाजमा केही परिवर्तन आउनु छ भनेपछि त्यो चाहिँ भोकल र फिल, त्यो शब्दको उच्चारण, एभ्रिथिङ इज इम्पोर्टेन्ट। र यो गीतमा त्यो सबै थियो, सबै छ। तसर्थ हामीले त्यसलाई प्रस्तुति गर्नलाई पनि हामीले त्यो इट्स एन अनर, इट्स अ ग्रेट प्रिभिलेज भन्न चाहन्छु। यो चाहिँ सबैको लागि जुरुक्क कर्णाली चाहिँ एउटा आर्काइभ भएर बसोस्, पढियोस्, भोलिको दिनमा पनि 100औं वर्षपछि पनि पढियोस्। यस्तो खालको गीत, यस्तो खालको पनि थियो सृजना। भलै मेरो स्वर नरहे तापनि सङ्गीत र यो गीत बाँचिरहोस्। अब त्यही भन्न चाहन्छु।
स्मारिकाजी छुटकरीमा कर्णालीको मर्म भर्नको लागि गीतमा, स्वरमा।
मलाई चाहिँ खासमा म पहिला थिएटरमा काम गर्थेँ, अनि थिएटरमा काम गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ म एकदम हाम्रो जुन ग्रुपमा काम गर्थेँ एकदम डाइभर्स थियो क्या। अनि हामीले नाटकहरूमा चाहिँ कसैले कर्णालीको कुनै देउडा, कसैले ठाडी भाका लिएर आउनुहुन्थ्यो। अनि त्यो सिक्न पाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ मलाई त्यो अर्कै रमाइलो। मलाई अहिले पनि कुनै नयाँ देउडा सुन्यो भने चाहिँ अथवा अझ पुरानो यो त कति वर्ष अगाडिको फलानुले गाउने भने चाहिँ मलाई अर्कै खाले इन्ट्रेस्ट हुने गर्छ। मलाई सो पहिल्यैदेखि नै के अरे, अनि त्यसपछि म आफै म्युजिकको स्टुडेन्ट पनि हो। अनि कल्चर लाइक कर्णालीको मात्र नभएर एनी अदर म आफू युजुअली फेमिलियर भएको भन्दा बाहिरको कुनै पनि गीतहरू, बङ्गाली गीतहरू सिक्नु पायो अथवा कुनै मैथिली गीतहरू सिक्नु पायो भने मलाई त एकदम रमाइलो लाग्छ। सो अब जुरुक्क कर्णाली गीत यो काम गर्ने, यो गीत गाउने भन्ने आएपछि यो देउडा गीत त होइन, तर यसमा धेरै एकदम कर्णालीको भाव, कर्णालीको मर्म सबै थोक बोकेको भएको भएर चाहिँ मेरो लागि त्यो यो गीत झनै मिनिङफुल भयो कि यो लाइक कर्णालीको गीत सङ्गीतमा यति इन्ट्रेस्ट भइराख्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यहीँको मान्छेहरूसँग कनेक्ट हुन पायो। सिस्नुपानी नेपालको जुन जुरुक्क कर्णाली प्रोग्राम थियो त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ त्यहाँको अरू मयूर नाचहरू, यो अरू कति धेरै पर्फर्मेन्सेसहरू पनि थियो नि त। सो त्यो सबै हेर्न पाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ वाह, ओके, लाइक यु नो आइ एम भेरी मच कनेक्टेड टु दिस प्लेस भन्ने खाले चाहिँ फिल भएको थियो। सो या त्यही होला।
अब हामीसँग समय एकदमै कम छ। म अडियन्सलाई फ्लोर दिन चाहन्छु। तिन चारवटा प्रश्न मात्रै लिउँ होला।
एकदम छोटोमा अन्त्य गरिदिनु होला, हामीसँग समय सकिसकेको छ।
धन्यवाद। म आस्थाजीको सित केही प्रश्न गर्न चाहेन। स्मारिकाजीको जुन इन्द्रेणी गीत आएको थियो त्यसको बारेमा त मैले एउटा लामो स्ट्याटस नै लेखेको थियो। मेरो प्रश्न माधव सरसित छ। कहिलेकाहीँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने अब मानव हामीले कुनै काम एउटा गऱ्यौँ र त्यो काम एकाएक धेरै भाइरल भयो, धेरैजनाले मन पराइदिनु भयो। जस्तै अहिलेको अवस्थामा छ माधव चौलागे, को माधव चौलागे, त्यो जुरुक्क कर्णाली, त्यस्तो हुन्छ, एउटा परिचय नै बनिहाल्छ त्यो चिज। अनि अब सरले त अब पछिको दिनमा अब अहिले पनि केही काम गरिराख्नु भएको होला, कुनै किताब लेखिराख्नु भएको होला, कुनै गीत लेखिराख्नु भएको होला। अब सरलाई पछिको दिनको लागि कतिको एउटा हुन्छ नि टेन्सन जस्तो कि मेरो यो चिज अब मेरो एउटा अलरेडी एउटा कुनै इमेज बनिहालेको छ, त्यो इमेज ब्रेक हुन्छ कि हुँदैन? र एउटा मेरो अर्को यो डर कि यदि इमेज त्यो ब्रेक भएन भने म यो पछिको लागि किन काम गरिराखेको छु अब, किनभने मेरो इमेज त अलरेडी बनिसकेको छ, त्यो इमेज त ब्रेक हुनेवाला छैन। म पछिको लागि के काम गरिराख्नु? म अर्को किताब लेख्छु, कसैले मन पराइदिनुहुन्न, कसैले पढिदिँदैन, अनि म गर्छु कि गर्दिनँ, त्यस्तो हुन्छ कि हुँदैन? यो हो मेरो प्रश्न।
यसमा अहिले नै एकदम भ्यालिड क्वेसन हो। किनभने तपाईँले भने यो एउटा गीतले मात्रै एक खाले चाहिँ बन्यो नि होइन। अब जस्तो हामी त्यो सिंहदरबारमै गएर त्यो एउटा भूमिका जाँदा धेरैले मान्ठ भनेर रिलेट गरेर हुन्थ्यो, चिन्नेहरूले पनि त्यो अरू लामो वर्षहरूको अरूदेखि अरू कुरा, किनभने त्यसको एउटा सानो वृत्त थियो क्या होइन मेरो आफ्नो पहिचानको, यसले अलिकति उजागर गरेर बाहिर पुर्यायो। तर अब मलाई अनि कतिले चाहिँ गीत लेख्नुहुन्छ, गीतकार हो, गीत लेख्नुहुन्छ कि भन्दा मैले कहिले पनि पहिला गीत लेखेको थिएन। तर यो एकाएक बनेको पनि होइन, किनभने योभन्दा अगाडि जुन सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली भन्ने जुन किताब थियो, त्यो किताब चाहिँ नन फिक्सन कर्णालीको बारेमा फ्याक्ट बेस्ड लेखिएका कुराहरू थियो। अनि लामो समयदेखि भनौँ झन्डै 8-9 वर्षदेखि चाहिँ मैले त्यो कुराहरूमा काम गरिरहेको थिएँ। अब मलाई लाग्यो कि कुनै गीतहरू चाहिँ यसरी पनि लेखिन सकिन्छ भने चाहिँ, तर अब म आफै नै गीत लेख्ने मान्छे त होइन भन्ने भयो। तर फेरि एउटा संयोग भयो, हामी कुरा कर्णालीका गरिराख्दाखेरि चाहिँ कर्णाली नदी छ नि, कर्णाली नदीसँग सम्बन्धित एउटा अर्को गीत मैले फेरि लेख्नु पर्यो, किनभने त्यसको चाहिँ एउटा बिम्ब बनेको थियो त्यो नदीको बारेमा, जसरी समाजमा नारीको बारेमा, एउटा भूमिको बारेमा जसरी बनिरहेको छ, गलत धारणाहरू बनिरहेको छ, नदीको बारेमा पनि थियो। अनि त्यसलाई चिर्नको लागि चाहिँ लेखिनुपर्छ भनेर मैले एउटा आर्टिकल लेखेँ लामो। अनि त्यो आर्टिकलको बेसमा भएर फेरि एउटा कविता चाहिँ लेखेँ। त्यसरी एउटा चाहिँ आवश्यकताले चाहिँ निर्धारण गरेर लेखिराख्यो भने चाहिँ त्यसले जुन स्वरूप लिन्छ त्योसँग चाहिँ मलाई भएन, त्यसले पछि कस्तो मान्छेले रुचाउँछ नरुचाउँछ। तर मेरो आफ्नो चाहिँ मान्यता चाहिँ के हो भने कर्णालीले भोगिरहेको कुराहरू चाहिँ हामीसँग चाहिँ जे हाम्रो क्षमता छ, हाम्रो दक्षता छ, मैले आवाज उठाउने, मेरो दृष्टिकोण राख्ने, मैले त्यसलाई चाहिँ त्यो अघि भने नि त स्टिकमा जसरी गएको थियो त्यसलाई ब्रेक गर्ने, त्यसमा चाहिँ योगदान दिनको लागि जुन ढङ्गले जान्छ त्यो गर्दै जाने हो क्या। सो त्यो अर्थमा चाहिँ अब गीत सङ्गीत सिर्जना होस् या लेख्ने कुराहरू होस्, कसरी आउँछ अगाडि, तर म यो गर्छु भनेर लागिरहेको अवस्था चाहिँ होइन। जसरी त्यो गीत पनि यो म गरेर यसरी जान्छु भने चाहिँ त्यो एउटा परिवेश बन्दै बन्दै गएर आएको थियो। सो अहिले पनि त्यही भइरहेको छ भनेपछि सम्भवतः अब एउटा गीत चाहिँ आउँछ, हामीले अलिकति त्यसको पर्फर्म पनि गरिरहेको थियौँ, सङ्गली सुन्दरी नदी भनेर। अब त्यो कसरी आउँछ अब के होला थाहा छैन, तर त्यो पनि एउटा नदीप्रतिको धारणा जसरी बनाएको थियो त्यसलाई ब्रेक गर्नुपर्छ भनेर चाहिँ लेखिएको थियो। यस्तै यस्तै अवसर आयो भने सायद गर्दै जान्छु होला, तर त्यस्तो तनाव चाहिँ केही पनि छैन मलाई।
नमस्कार सम्पूर्ण माधव सरलाई। मेरो नाम जनार्दन आचार्य। एकजना इतिहासकार हुनुहुन्छ सुदीप गौतम, डाक्टर सुदीप गौतम, उहाँ दाङको हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँले सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली यो गीत आइसकेपछि मलाई लाग्छ दाङमा दसैँ अगाडितिर एउटा प्रोग्राम भएको थियो, म आफै सम्मिलित थिएँ त्यो प्रोग्राममा। उहाँले चाहिँ सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली यो निस्किसकेपछि उहाँले सपाट भनेको चाहिँ दाङ हो भन्ने शीर्षकमा यस्तै उल्लेख गर्नु। सोध्न सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली जुन शब्द हजुरले प्रयोग भौगोलिक महत्त्वको केही अर्थ छ कि भनेर मैले जान्न खोजेँ हजुरबाट।
यो छोटोमा मैले भने खास सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली भनेको यो खस साम्राज्यको बेलाको सन्दर्भ जान्छ। त्यो त्यसमा सपाद लक्ष्य शिखरी खसदेशे भनेर भन्थ्यो। जसरी चाहिँ तपाईँले स्वस्ति यो 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 पहिला अलिकति यो भन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ यो प्रशस्ति हुनुहुन्थ्यो नि राजाको, स्वस्ति श्री श्री नरनारायण यति के भन्थ्यो नि, सपाद लक्ष्य खसदेशे क्षेत्रपालस्य चुडामणी भनेर पनि लेखेको हुन्थ्यो। अनि उनीहरूलाई त्यति बेला चाहिँ त्यो खस साम्राज्यको राजाहरूलाई चाहिँ सपाद लक्ष्य शिखरीको अधिपतिको रूपमा भन्थ्यो। अनि त्यो समय भनेको 350 वर्ष जस्तो चल्छ होइन, छालाखाला। त्यो एउटा चाहिँ हामीले अहिले भनेको जुन सिभिलाइजेसन सभ्यता, खस सभ्यता भन्यो भने त्यसको आफ्नै त्यति बेला विकसित भएको हाम्रो भाषा संस्कृति, त्यसको आफ्नै सैन्य अवस्थादेखि लिएर न्यायको त्यहाँको होइन सबै परिस्थितिहरू बनाएको त्यो एउटा कालखण्डले बनाएर विस्तारित भएको स्वरूप चाहिँ अहिले नेपाली राष्ट्रियताको कति पहिचानहरू त्यति बेलाबाट उजागर भएको मान्छौँ। भनेपछि त्यो एउटा त्यसलाई चाहिँ 1.25 लाख पर्वतको अधिपति भने हो कि सपाद लक्ष्यको ठ्याक्कै त्यसलाई विग्रह गर्यो भने यो लक्ष्य भनेको लाख, लक्ष्यदीप पर्यटन भने जस्तो होइन, लाख बत्ती बाल्ने लक्ष्य। पाद भनेको पाउ, एक पाउ भनेको 4 खण्डको एक खण्ड, त्यसलाई चाहिँ 1 लाखको एक खण्ड भने 25,000, 1,25,000 सहित भन्यो, त्यो भनेको 1.25 लाख भयो। अनि अब 1.25 लाख पर्वत भएको ठाउँको रूपमा चाहिँ त्यसलाई लियो। अब पर्वत भयो भने चाहिँ त्यसलाई के हुन्छ, खोला हुन्छ होइन, पर्वत हुन्छ, ओरी हुन्छ, पारी हुन्छ, वारी हुन्छ, पारी हुन्छ होइन, त्यसले के गर्छ विविधता ल्याउँछ। अब विविधतालाई तपाईँलाई जटिलतासँग हेऱ्यो भने त्यो भूगोल एकदमै दुःखको भूगोल भयो, तर विविधतालाई विशेषताको रूपमा गऱ्यो भने त्यो मौलिकताहरूको विकास भएको हुन्छ। अनि मौलिकता हुनु भनेको चाहिँ तपाईँको अब लवजमा आउने मौलिकताले सङ्गीत सिर्जनादेखि लिएर अनेक कुराहरूको ल्याउँछ, अथवा दुःखलाई पनि समाधान गर्ने मौलिक सिपहरू सिर्जना गरेको हुन्छ। त्यो भएर त्यो गीतमा हेर्नुभयो भने म आफ्नो त्यो हुन्छ नि दुःखहरूलाई चाहिँ निर्वाहन गर्न सक्छु होइन, म सक्षम छु भन्ने कुराहरू पनि गरेको छ। किनभने हामीले बाहिरबाट देख्ने दुःख हाम्रो आफ्नो सिर्जना हो क्या, तर त्यहाँ बस्ने मान्छे त त्यो इकोसिस्टमसँग एडप्ट भएर उसले आफूलाई चाहिँ बनाइसकेका हुन्छ नि, हामी त्यसलाई चाहिँ मिनिमाइज गरिदिन्छौँ क्या, अनि हाम्रो दृष्टिकोणले उनीहरूको दुःख व्यक्त गरेर हुन्छौँ। तर हाम्रा ती सङ्गीतहरू हुन्छ नि, धारू घाँटु भुवो भैलो होइन, चैतेली बिसुवा अथवा देउडा त्यो न्याउली, यिनीहरू सबैले पनि के हो त भन्दा त्यो एउटा चाहिँ दुःखलाई परास्त गर्ने शक्ति दिन्छ क्या तिनीहरूले पनि होइन। यी सबै कुराहरूको चाहिँ त्यसलाई हेऱ्यो भने त युनिक भन्यो नि त। अनि युनिक अथवा मौलिक कुरालाई चाहिँ प्रवर्धन गर्यो भने त्यसले ल्याउने अवसरहरू चाहिँ फरक तरिकाले चाहिँ व्याख्या गर्न सकिन्छ। यो सबै कुरालाई सान्दर्भिक हुन्छ भनेर त्यसलाई मैले कर्णालीलाई सपाद लक्ष्य कर्णाली भनेर नाम दिएको थिएँ।
हुन्छ, अब हामी कार्यक्रमको यो बहसको समापनमा आइपुगेका छौँ। आज हामीले मान्ठ जुरुक्क कर्णाली यो गीतसँग नजिक रहेर कर्णालीमाथि विचार विमर्श गऱ्यौँ। 45 मिनट पर्याप्त थिएन होला, तर जे जति गऱ्यौँ त्यो राम्रै भयो भन्ने लाग्छ। अब सिंहदरबारमा नेताहरूले कर्णालीको नाम सुन्ने बित्तिकै जुरुक्कै उठेर भाग्दैनन् होला, नभागुन् त्यो आशा हामी राखौँ। धन्यवाद।
धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद हाम्रो स्पिकर र हाम्रो मोडरेटरहरूलाई। अब म हाम्रो कालिङ्गा लिटरेचर फेस्टिभलको एसिस्टेन्ट डिरेक्टर सुमन वर्षा म्यामलाई उहाँहरूलाई टोकन अफ लभ प्रेजेन्ट गरिदिनको लागि अनुरोध गर्दछु। एभ्रीवान प्लिज गिभ देम अ ह्युज राउन्ड अफ अप्लज।
अब यता आउनु त यहाँ भित्तामा। दुईटा सिङ्गरहरूलाई बाबु दुईटा सिङ्गरहरूलाई बिचमा राखेर फोटो खिचेर त Actually, ask how I'm going to give you like that. So you learn something like this where it's easy for you. I saw the. I saw the open. I saw the man and
Once again, thank you very much to our speakers and moderators for such a wonderful session. Moving onwards, it's our last session. So the session is titled So our next session is titled Her Voice, Her World, Writing Self, Society and Change. So for this session, I'd like to welcome our speakers Archana Singh, Dr. Beena Biswas, Suman Barsa, Sujata Sivan and Sehnab Sahin. And for the moderator, I'd like to welcome Nina Verma ma'am. Everyone please give them a huge round of applause. I'd like to request our volunteers to present them with Khada. So before moving forward, I'd like to inform our coordinators and speakers that we only have 45 minutes of time. So please conclude the session within that time frame. So you may start. Thank you. Everyone, please be on your stage as the session is about to begin.
Namaste, everyone, and my friends at the rear, seeking your appreciative attention. Please join us or allow us to start because we are anyway running short on time. We are told that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, namaste, everyone. Namaste, the illustrious panel. And what a wonderful panel. You know, it's a privilege to be moderating an all-women panel on the topic which is about, you know, women writing. Thank you. Thank you for this appreciation. On the topic which is about, you know, women writing, women voice, and their expression and the various constraints within which the expression has to find itself, find the voice, express the views, and make way for itself. So it's not going to be an easy topic for us all to delve into in just 40 minutes. And I hope to get all your attention and support for this. So let me begin by quickly just a brief introduction of the illustrious panel. I start with Suman Barsha. She, as you all know, is the Assistant Director of Kalinga Literary Festival, Kathmandu edition. And apart from being an academic, a researcher, a field social activist, she's also a literary as well as creative writer. So she writes for academic on academic issues, and she is also a prolific creative writer. And she, apart from being the assistant director to the Kathmandu edition of Kalinga Literary Festival, she also serves on the International Literary Nepalese Society. So quite an illustrious career she has as a writer. And next to her, sitting on her left, is Sujata ji, another very illustrious writer. She writes, she translates, and she's a poet, and she's a fiction writer, she's an essayist, and multiple awards. And she serves on the boards of Hindi Academy in India and several other boards. I mean, the list is so long, I cannot go on and on, but all that I can tell you is that the list is really long and very inspiring. So give her a big hand, please, Sujata ji. On the other side of Suman, we have Shahnab Sahin. She's come all the way from Assam, Guwahati. And her profile is same in many ways and uniquely different in some other ways. She's a humanitarian leader who in the past was a civil services officer in India. And then her passion for humanitarian causes took her to this very tough, uniquely tough profession. She leads it in the war-torn areas in Sudan, Syria, and so all that war-torn area is where her work is, and she's leading it as the regional director of an international organization there, and she has triple masters. Can you believe that? From India and abroad. She writes on gender-based issues, apart from the humanitarian issues and the trauma, the collective resilience, and all of these matters she writes on. So give her a big hand. And then finally on my left is a very, very inspiring field researcher who specializes in very complex research methodologies like ethnography, like grounded inquiry, like narrative interpretations. She works as an associate professor at Prayagraj Institute for GB Pansu Institute for Social Sciences. And her work it spans across very complex themes: caste, gender, Dalit identity, and so very profound and complex sociological issues is what she researches in and writes on. So wonderful panel, and let's get started. Let's not waste much time in me speaking unnecessarily, because with such an illustrious panel we should be greedy about getting as much as possible. So Suman, since we are sitting in Nepal, I would like to start with a question specifically focused on Nepalese society and context with you. So I like to think that we are very similar in many ways, India and Nepal, and yet there are differences. In your society, how are the women, especially women with voice and women with views, are perceived? And in your writing, how do you tackle the stereotypes and the complexities, the gender complexities, which are unkind to women writers? How do you tackle that and respond to that through your writing?
Thank you so much for the question. I would like to thank to all of you, those who are hearing, to all of us. This session is about her voice, her stories, and how do we write about them and we ourselves as well. There are two sides of ways that especially Nepalese people perceive to women. One thing that in scripture, in writing, in methodology also, women are considered very different way. It means women are representation of goddess. Women is a loving daughter, loving mother, isn't it? But in practice, there are some stereotype of feeling, that people generate themselves. It is not only this time. From the very beginning of period, women are considered just like a housewife. They have to be in a frame okay, rules and regulation they have to follow. They have to stay under the male counterpart, isn't it? So because you know why is this? Because Nepal and India, you have already talked, like similar practices are there. Patriarchal society, and women are not considered as a bread earner. That's why this is happening. Maybe in practice they are dominating and they are considered second citizen. As a writer, what I write in my writing, that they are, you know, that camera is just clicking the photo and everything is just seen as it is, isn't it? But through our writing we have to empower women. That's why in my writing I always encourage them. I show them quite bold. You know why the reader reads to our story, our collection of what is called that, our fiction and non-fiction. So through that they want to learn something. Through that we can be a guiding light, isn't it? That's why I made somehow the character are so confident and bold through their what is called that, they do not revolt, they do not just go against of it, but through their act, through their voice, they are to somehow revolting against such discrimination. That's why through my writing I to somehow make my character quite bold and confident, so that people will learn, oh, I am not only women, I am a transformer, I am a game changer, I can do something new for the society, that I can show them women are not weak, docile. They can be a representation of the modern world, who are can be who can be the source of what is called that bread earner and something like that. That's why to some extent I write in a way, ma'am. Thank you.
That's amazing. You know, as someone who's a leadership and behavior change expert, I find immense power in the work that you're doing. You know, you're saying that you become the voice of transformation through your writing. And while this is so encouraging and so motivating, I'm curious to know from you, Dr. Archana, how easy or difficult is it? Because many of the women experiences, the lived experiences, they continue to remain very difficult to talk about, or in fact they remain buried, they remain unspoken about. So how do you think literature allows you to articulate such unspoken or less spoken or difficult to speak about experiences, articulate and express them both?
So in this panel of these women writers, so I'm a reader. So it's good ki you will get that side also, how a women reader perceives the writing of. So when these women are writing, so it's not only literary expression. What she was saying, it is some sort of social intervention.
Absolutely.
It is some sort of political act. It is some sort of transformative politics. So when they are writing, actually, they are addressing women folk, not only folk, other genders also, and they are trying to narrate their stories, their experiences. So it's a long journey from coming to center, from periphery, from silence to voices. So it's a long journey. If time allows, I'll speak in next round. So when women were writing in a small magazines, Istri Darpan, Grey Lakshmi, all those in Hindi sphere, so that was in the frame of typical history values or ethical frames. But later they started writing autobiographies and this. So this is a long journey, and definitely whenever these women writers write anything, so the recipients get a lot of courage because they can associate This is my experience. All those autobiographies and small incidences, we can connect it. This is, and this gives some sort of courage to share their experiences also. So they start speaking like on other forums. So this is very interesting kind of trajectory where they, after reading those things, they start sharing their own narratives, and they not only deconstruct that abla image, they are reconstructing their image. Like they are also rejecting the devi image, they are also rejecting the devta phenomenon. So this is very interesting. On the one hand, they are deconstructing all the given, but it is not only this is many people used to level them ki this is some sort of deviation and deconstruction, but actually on the other hand they are reconstructing a very transformative discourse. And whenever we talk about their voices, we have to talk about their silence also.
Absolutely.
Because still there is a lot of things yet to be shared.
Absolutely. Very well said. A very important point that you made. You know, so you're saying that literature, in a way, whether you are a writer or you are a reader, from any which way, literature allows women to also find their agency. And with this, I take it to you, Shahnam. So agency and identity written from a feminine lens. What do you think? Is it an act of restoration, assertion, or both?
Thank you for your question. It's not very simple to answer this. So I would want to start by drawing attention to the fact that today I'm wearing the Palestinian thobe very deliberately for a lit fest that's happening in Nepal, which is about South Asian voices, simply to sort of visually represent the fact that men are creating wars as we speak, but the biggest price is being paid by women in Palestine, in Lebanon as we speak right now, because the biggest share of humans that are dying in these unnecessary wars are women. So you see, when it comes to the way we have designed the world has been designed in a way that agency is not spoken of from the lens of a woman any which ways, right? So now coming down to answering your question from a literary point of view. Now, for instance, of course, the idea is to restore a voice which was, as she has mentioned, has been silenced for centuries. But at the same time, does it always lead to restoration? We don't know that for sure. Because even if we have spent so many years right now, so many decades trying to restore the feminine voice, we still have cases, for example, what's rocking the media right now in India with the dowry death of a very agency-driven woman, right? So what happens in literature, now I can only speak from the lens of my experience having written to bring about a restorative voice. Like my book, Color My Grave Purple, it's set, yeah. So in the book itself, like, it's an anthology of stories, and in these stories what I have tried to do is to sort of look at huge global phenomenon such as the Chinese invasion of India, such as also like smaller phenomenon that goes away from everyday lens, like human animal conflict, which is very characteristic of this part of the world, from the way that the woman sees the episodes panning out, you know. So it's very, very important that we use literature as a voice, not simply to restore what is rightfully a feminine voice, to also actually to just lay it out there as it is. How is it that this phenomenon is looked upon from a feminine gaze, you know? So before we take the conversation to restoration, it's essential to even have the voice, because where I come from now, and spaces that I call home are deemed very broken spaces. But in these broken spaces, I would like to quote, like, take a word that she mentioned, breadwinning, you know. So when men are creating these wars leading to so many unnecessary deaths, who is at the helm of responsibility of not just the families, but restoring the societies? Because society becomes very gendered in that sense. The women are then tasked with restoring society. They become breadwinners, and us humanitarians even design programs to make sure that we provide support to female breadwinning families, because at the end, then what a man has broken has to be fixed by a woman. So why not in literature?
That's a very profound point to make. what is broken by men has to be fixed by women. And therefore, it's not just about restoration, but assertion as much. Thank you. So, from original writing to translation, सुजाता जी, आपका रोल जो है एक ब्रिज बिल्डर का है, और ब्रिज बिल्डर में आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एज अ राइटर, एज अ ट्रांसलेटर शायद और भी ज्यादा बढ़ जाती होगी, सिर्फ बढ़ी नहीं जाती होगी, कॉम्प्लेक्स भी हो जाती होगी। तो उसमें आप अपने अनुवाद के जरिए इस समय की कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज, खासतौर पे जेंडर बेस्ड कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज, उनको और फिर समय के एक ब्रॉडर डायमेंशन को भी, ना सिर्फ इस समय बल्कि समय के एक ब्रॉडर डायमेंशन को, इन दोनों को आप किस तरह से देखती हैं और कैसे आप इसको अपने एक्सप्रेशन में उतारती हैं?
नमस्ते। जैसा कि आपने कहा कि अनुवाद जो है 2 भाषाओं का सेतु होता है। मैं उड़िया से हिंदी में अनुवाद करती हूँ और बहुत सारे उपन्यास कहानियों को मैंने अनुवाद किया। हाल में जो मैंने उपन्यास अनुवाद किया चरु चिबर और चरिया, उसके जो वुमेन कैरेक्टर्स हैं, चरित्र हैं, उनके बारे में मत बताना चाहूंगी। चरु चिबर चरिया में बौद्ध धर्म उड़ीसा में कैसे पनपा, और चूंकि मैं आज बुद्ध देव के जन्मस्थली के देश में हूँ, तो ये प्रासंगिक भी होगा कि हम बात करें। तो उस समय जो राजा थे, वो जिस धर्म को मानते थे उसको सारे प्रजाएं भी मानती थी, तो इसलिए वो धर्म पनपते थे। तो बौद्ध धर्म को जो शिवकर जी ने उनको ये किया, उसमें चूंकि उस समय भी पितृ सत्तात्मक समाज था और आज भी है, लेकिन ये कह सकते हैं कि हम काफी कुछ बदला है और बहुत कुछ अभी बदलना बाकी है। हम उतने ज्यादा संतुष्ट नहीं है कि जो हम ये, तो उस समय भी 3 चरित्र ऐसे थे जो नारी चरित्र थे, उन्होंने विद्रोह किया अपने तरीके से। तो मुझे किसी ने सवाल किया था एक बार कि इसको अगर कोई लेडी राइटर लिखती तो क्या अलग लिखती? मैं बोली नहीं, अलग कैसे होता, क्योंकि समाज तो वही था। और एक पुरुष ने भी अगर लिखा तो वो अपने दृष्टिकोण में वही लिखा जो स्थितियां थी। जो रानी रहती हैं, वो एक बौद्ध भिक्षु के प्रेम में पड़ती हैं। वो पहले से उनका प्रेम रहता है, लेकिन उनसे किसी कारण से शादी नहीं हो पाती है, और वो जब रानी बन के आती हैं और उस बौद्ध भिक्षु उन्हीं के राज्य में, जो अपने ससुराल के राज्य में वो वहाँ पढ़ने के लिए आते हैं, तो वो क्या करती है, कहती है कि उनसे मिलने के लिए वो कहती है कि मैं बौद्ध शिक्षा लूंगी, और वो भी बौद्ध भिक्षुणी बन के रहती हैं। और इस तरीके से वो यहाँ तक प्रेम में ये रहती हैं कि वो राजपाट छोड़ने के लिए राजी हो जाती हैं, राजा से अलग हो जाना चाहती हैं, अपने पुत्र को भी छोड़ देने के लिए राजी हो जाती हैं। तो ये उस समय का विद्रोह है, और बहुत ही लड़ाई झगड़े के तौर पर नहीं, वो बहुत ही नम्रता से और इस चीज को वो करती हैं। तो ये एक बड़ी बात थी कि वो अपना सब कुछ छोड़ना चाहती हैं। दूसरा कैरेक्टर जो है उसकी बहू की, जो बहू आती है वो शैव धर्म को मानने वाली रहती है, तो वो चाहती है कि शैव धर्म यहाँ पर पनपे। तो वो क्या करती है, वो इस तरीके से कोशिश करती है कि राजा जल्दी राजपाट छोड़ दे और मेरे पति आ जाएं, तो मैं उसको शैव धर्म को मैं यहाँ प्रतिष्ठित करूं। तो वो किस तरीके से अपनी बहुत बुद्धिमत्ता से वो किस तरीके से शैव धर्म को वहां करती हैं। बहुत सारे शैव धर्म के विश्वास करने वालों को उस राज्य में बुलाती हैं, उनको रखती हैं, मंदिर बनाती हैं। तो ये उसका अपना तरीका रहता है जो कि वो ये करती है। मैंने इतना पितृसत्तात्मक ये होने के बाद भी इन लोग अपना जो अपनी जो ये दर्ज करती हैं कि हम हैं, हमें आप कहीं भी अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते। तीसरा जो ये था बासुबी रहती है, वो राजा से प्यार करती है, बहुत ही उम्र डिफरेंस होता है उनका, और वो मालिन की लड़की रहती है, लेकिन वो बहुत ही साइलेंट प्रेम रहता है उसका। और राजा जब एक बार बीमार पड़ते हैं, तो उनके उस समय के जड़ी बूटी जो होता है कि कोई कुमारी लड़की ही इनको ठीक कर सकती है, और उसको 15 दिन तक वो व्रत रह के उनको सेवा करती है, और आखिर में उसकी राजा की भी शादी होती है उनके साथ। तो इस तरीके से है। और आगे अभी जो आ गया है हमारे ये में, जैसे आप इन्होंने भी जैसे कहा ब्रेड विनर नहीं, ब्रेड ये नहीं होती है, इसलिए भी हम औरतों को पीछे रखा जाता है, क्योंकि जो कमाता है वही होता है। लेकिन आपकी जो बात है वो भी मैं ये मानती हूँ कि युद्ध की विभीषिका जो होती है वो हमेशा नारी को ही झेलना पड़ता है। युद्ध में जब आपके पति या बेटा शहीद हो जाते हैं तो उस समय पूरा भार जो है औरत पे पड़ती है। तो औरत जब मजबूरी में आती है तो वो अपने परिवार को पूरा बनाती है और उसको ब्रेड विनर भी वो अर्नर भी होती है, और इस तरीके से वो अपना कहीं ना कहीं अपने को तर्स करती है।
वेरी वेल पुट, वेरी वेल पुट। और आपने जो ये बात कही कि यू नो कि किस तरह से एक फेमिनाइन स्ट्रगल को फेमिनाइन वॉइस कैसे जस्टिस दे सकती है, उसमें भी कैरेक्टर्स की विविधता की भी आपने बात की। आई टेक दिस क्वेश्चन फर्दर विद यू सुमन, एंड यू हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव इम्पैक्ट दैट लिटरेचर कैन हैव। इन दैट सेंस, यू नो, with the best of our objectivity, what do you think, uh, how easy or difficult it is for a male writer? Let's assume the male writer is earnest. Let's assume the male writer has an authentic voice, is brave enough to break the paradigm and make some shift. Let's assume, let's give them all the benefit that they are coming very rooted into the women writing. Still, how easy or difficult is it for a male writer to capture and express the age-olden issues and struggles of women, which continue to remain difficult and complex?
Thank you for the question once again. Yeah, I think it is possible and challenging both, isn't it? One writer, sometime we have to wear persona, isn't it? As a female writer, I'm a women writer. I have to write sometime about the understanding of men, isn't it? In the same way, men also has to write about women, and I think it is challenging too for the male writer to write about the women's issue, isn't it? That is challenging. They can understand, they can see, they can observe, and as if they can write what the issue going through the women is, and what the trauma they are facing, what sort of discrimination they are having, isn't it? What type of role they are performing, and what type of understanding they have, and what their education is, what other people are behaving to her. This kind of understanding a male writer can have and they can write, I think. But what women particularly feel psychological type of burden, isn't it? Their trauma, their sense of sometime loss, their you know, their pain, that is their anguish inside them, how they are suffering through that sort of pain, that cannot be understood by men, and that sort of feeling, that sort of understanding cannot be written by male writer, I think so. But I cannot blame to all the main writer, because lots of the books and lots of the writing men are writing through, and we have lots of, you know, fiction and non-fiction we have read, and through that how women are feeling, how women are facing, what sort of trauma, what sort of psychology they have, we have understand through the lens of that male writer, isn't it? That's why I totally cannot say that men writer cannot write about the women's issue, but to some extent there is some point, there is some feeling, sort of feeling they cannot what is called that, feel by them, and they cannot write through their writing. I personally feel that.
Of course, and that makes perfect sense. So, taking this exploration further, Shahnab, I bring it to you. You've written this anthology of Shahnab. You've written this anthology of stories where you have written about, you know, the trauma, the specific, gender rooted trauma that Sumanji was talking about before that, Sujata and Archana have also talked about that. So trauma, apart from trauma, I think your writing has focused a lot on the gender-based taboos. And you have localized it more in Assam, I believe. But nonetheless, I think what belongs there belongs elsewhere as much. So very briefly, could you bring out a woman character from your book, Color My Grey Purple? Is that the name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just bring out any one woman character, and through her story, if you could help us go deeper into this exploration. But please keep it very brief, because I'm inviting you for story, which is a tempting invitation, but we have little time.
No, I mean, I will be quick because we had a very, very similar session right before, and I have already spoken about it. So I'm in the thread. So one of the characters of my book is a girl who has just started menstruating, and I come from a place called Assam in the northeast of India, and we have a chief principal deity, so to say, who is Ma Kamakhya. And I know that a lot of people in Nepal are aware of Ma Kamakhya. We have a lot of devotees from Nepal that visit Ma Kamakhya. And the central foundation of that faith is Shakti, is the fact that Ma Kamakhya menstruates, right? So without going into the whole, history, etymology of this, so we are a society that celebrates menstruation, so much so that we devote an entire week in the summer month to having a festival in that name, the Ambubasi Mela. But again, at the same time, we are also a society that still continues with the very, very ridiculous taboos of purity and pollution of a menarche versus a menopausal woman, So this was a dichotomy that I cannot bridge. This gap I cannot bridge, especially because I've personally suffered this taboo applicable to my very life. And I think I've mentioned this to you before, because I lost my father when I was only 16 years old. And although during his funeral, nobody, no, especially not my mother, nobody told me that you cannot go and touch your father. It was so indoctrinated in my brain that because I'm menstruating, I'm polluted, I'm dirty, I'm a lesser person. And I was so young. So I thought that my father is literally going to start traveling in his afterlife. So I felt that if I touch him, and if that's going to make his journey difficult, I might as well not touch him. So can you imagine what something like that does to a very impressionable young 16-year-old girl who just lost the primary attachment figure? And this also comes from a society where we celebrate menstruation. So this is the kind of dichotomy that I really wanted to reflect through this character, Mamuni, in my book in the 3rd chapter, where I have combined her beginning to menstruate with the arrival of Gandhiji to Assam. So I'm trying to show something very personal, like me, a woman, girl menstruating, with something very big and impersonal, like the arrival of the biggest national hero. But how it comes together, I will not reveal, because I would want you to read the book.
Of course. I don't want you to spill all the beans. And of course, I'm sure by now the audience is sufficiently tickled in their curiosity to go deeper into your stand. But you know what? Sujata ji talked about patriarchy, and Suman had earlier also, and then later again, had gone deeper into the both the challenges as well as the possibilities, to borrow her word. And then she's talking about taboos. Archana, because you're a sociologist also, you're a sociological scientist as much. So patriarchy continues to remain deeply embedded in our system. We may come from big cities, or we may come from very small, rural areas. In such an environment, one is that we are allowed to speak. The other is, are we really being heard? I mean, what's the difference? How do you think we are being treated, or we are allowing ourselves to be treated?
Very interesting question. And definitely, I would like to continue with my co-panelists. When we are talking about being heard, or men writing about women, so being a protagonist and portraying or creating a protagonist is totally different. So if a person is writing a very very courageous kind of girl character, definitely that is some sort of heroism that our society celebrates. This male writer has written so many, we have stories. When we write, we as a women write, this is some sort of, this is experience sharing. So whether this piece of work, what she was sharing or something else, is this something very like valuable thing?
Not given that kind of seriousness.
Yes. Is there, that is very valuable or not? Is this kind of thing is going to add that existing literary discourse or not? This is very common in our Hindi society. Manisha ji will be well aware of that कि ये लोग तो ऐसे ही लिखती रहती हैं, हर चीज को बढ़ा चढ़ा के लिखती हैं. Kind of so many women writers face this kind of comments. So this is because when you are sharing your, the way you are sharing, आप अपना जो अनुवाद वाला एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कर रही थी, मैं उसी समय सोच रही थी कि अगर उस रानी ने लिखा होता about her love with that Buddhist monk, तो वो क्या होता? एक्चुअली दिस इज वेरी डिफरेंट, और इसकी जो पूरे क्राफ्ट है ना वो बदल जाती है. तो whenever the way, when we are allowed to speak, we are allowed to participate in different kind of discourses, this is obviously very patriarchal, but on the other hand it is so deeply rooted. What she was saying कि she himself withdrew, so no one forced her. So what these writings are doing, अगर थोड़ा सा हम लोग पीछे जाएं तो when very few women's like Bengali women's, few elite women's during this freedom struggle, they went to abroad for higher education and they came back, or Sharda Southern ladies, Indian ladies, they established different kind. तो वहां पे जो बातें होती थी ना, तो जब वो मंच से बोलती थी, that was much more impactful than the so-called heroes, great heroes. तो होता क्या है, what I was sharing, कि वो जो women जब बोलती है, तो एक section, those women folks, they really try to एकदम इसको अंदर पूरा समा लेना चाहती हैं. For other, this is so art of listening, and this whole process of listening is very different from women and men. तो when we are, तो वो जो बिल्कुल जा रहा है ना, हमें याद रह जाता है कि इन्होंने ये शब्द बोला, इन्होंने ये शब्द बोला. That will be in my like somewhere deeply in the. लेकिन औरों के लिए होता है, हाँ ये तो कुछ वही फेमिनिस्ट टाइप का डिस्कोर्स कर रहे हैं, दिस इज
कुछ अपना lived experience ही लिख
हाँ,
रही हैं.
और कुछ ऐसा ही है, ये तो होता रहता है.
Absolutely.
And feminist word is again a very tabooed word in our society.
Absolutely.
So most of the when women writer starts with like कि look, I'm not a feminist, मैं इस पे बात करती हूँ, but I don't know what's wrong in that by
Both
claiming.
frightened as well as fumed
Yes.
at words.
So
Yeah.
instead of blaming, so we have to introspect ourselves कि हम अभी कितना बदले हैं
Absolutely.
throughout this
And you know
journey.
what? As a moderator, I shouldn't be taking space, but your last point brings me to share very briefly. So it's now 11 years and 8 months and some days, 11 days, 12 days precisely, since my elder son completed his mortal journey and he transcended to the other world. And he was 22 and his mortal body was 22, and he was a very private and shy kind of boy. So more out of that, because he liked to keep his privacy, more out of that, I was not comfortable with anyone else touching his body, you know, and even my husband felt that I should be actually handling his body and not my husband. So the very intriguing experience that we had, that the priests supported us. The priest who was home to help us with the rituals and the priest who was supervising the funeral all 4 of them supported us. They didn't even utter a word, they didn't ask anything. But all the women in the Khandan, supposedly educated women with good positions, etc., the kind of hue and cry that it was raised, you know, that with this, I would be inviting curses upon the entire Khandan by me doing the ritual and me doing the body washing and me joining my husband and my younger son in the putting the body on the pyre. So the kind of resistance, the kind of revolt, the kind of shaming, the kind of cursing that we received from the women of the Khandan was not quite shocking to me, but the kind of support that we received from the priests was such a heartening thing. With this, you know, I bring the last word to you, Sujata ji. You've written about 3 perspectives of women, you know, in the same context. They have a shared context. So one is their personalities, their behaviors, how they dictate or influence their respective choices. The other is कि जो पेट्रियार्की को हम विमेन ने अपने अंदर इतना डीपली एंट्रेंच होने दिया है कि हमें पता ही नहीं कब आकर के हम लोग में से कुछ लोग पेट्रियार्की के यू नो गेट कीपर्स और एजेंट्स बन गए हैं, विमेन ही. तो उसको आप तो अनुवाद में इस तरफ भी देखती हैं, उस तरफ भी देखती हैं, हर एक पहलू से देखती हैं. आपको क्या लगता है विमेन राइटर्स इसको कैसे एड्रेस कर सकते हैं जो विमेन देमसेल्व्स पेट्रियार्की की एजेंट्स और गेटकीपर्स बन गई हैं?
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है आपका. मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ टैबूस तो बहुत हैं हमारे सोसाइटी में, जैसे आपने कहा मेंस्ट्रुअल लेके, और आपने जैसे कहा कि वुमेन को ही क्रश करते हैं कि जो भी खराब चीज हो जाता है अभिशप्त है औरत के कारण. मैं एक छोटा सा चीज लूंगी, बहुत ही ये में घर के काम का जो हमारा टेबू है कि ये औरत का काम है और ये पुरुष का काम है, तो इसको ब्रिज करना चाहिए. तो वे हम अपने घर से शुरू कर सकते हैं. जैसे मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि अगर लड़की को ये इसको नियम है कि वो घर को 6 बजे आ जाए, लड़का क्यों नहीं आएगा 6 बजे? और जो लड़का रात को 10 बजे, 12 बजे, 2 बजे बाहर घूम रहा है, वो तो कुछ ना कुछ बदमाशी करेगा, क्रिमिनल काम करेगा. तो हम क्यों उसको वहां से ना रोकें? मेरे मम्मी के साथ में मेरी बहुत इस तरीके से झगड़ा होता था, तो वो कहती थी कि देखते हैं तुम्हारा बेटा होगा तो तुम क्या करोगे. तो मैंने इस चीज को क्या कि बेटा को खाना बनाना सिखाया मैंने कि खाना बनाना चाहिए. घर में मेरी सास आती हैं और मेरे हस्बैंड अगर थाली उठा के बेसिन में भी रख दें, उनको बहुत कष्ट होता है और वो बिल्कुल बैठ के देखती रहती हैं. खाना खत्म होने के बाद भी वो जैसे ही वो उठेंगे वो थाली लेके चली जाएंगी. तो मैंने मदर इन लॉ से भी कहा, सासू माँ से भी कहा कि अगर आप इस तरीके से करेंगी, कल को जब आपकी तबीयत खराब होने से कोई नहीं करता है, आपके बेटे नहीं करते हैं, बहू नहीं करते हैं, तो आप उन लोगों को ब्लेम नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि आप उनको करने नहीं दे रहे हैं और आपकी उम्र हो गई है, तो आपको नहीं करना चाहिए. ऐसे ही एक बार बाद में मैंने कह दिया कि मेरे पति तो बर्तन मांज लेते हैं, उनको बड़ा शौक होता है, और मेरे पति ये कहते हैं कि यही एक ऐसा चीज है जिसमें कि दिमाग लगाना नहीं पड़ता है. मेरी सहेली जो थी उसने मुझे टोक दिया कि आप बर्तन मंजवा लेती हैं. तो ये चीज जो है मुझे लगता है कि हम औरतों को ही शायद इस तरीके से ये करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जो पेट्रियटिज्म जो है, सही बात है, हमको मानसिक तौर पर ही इतना कमजोर बना दिया जाता है. इससे पहले सेशन में भी मैंने कहा कि जितने सारे व्रत हैं, त्योहार है, वो सारे कुछ पुरुष की खुशहाली के लिए हैं, औरत के लिए नहीं है. तो ये शायद मानसिक हमको कमजोर करता ही है कहीं ना कहीं, और हम नहीं जान पाते हैं. इसके लिए हमको बिल्कुल जानना पड़ेगा और पढ़ना पड़ेगा और उसको उस तरीके से हमको करना पड़ेगा. अपने खुद की लड़ाई खुद लड़नी पड़ेगी.
Thank you so much. It has been such a meaningful conversation today, and to the relief of the session organizers, we have packed up in time, but much, I think, to the joy of the audience as well as ourselves, we have gone really deep. And that is the magic when 4 powerful women writers come together. I bask in the reflected glory of 4 powerful women writers. और बहुत डेप्थ में हम लोगों ने आज बातें की हैं और आई एम श्योर ऑडियंस को इसका कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ तो छुआ होगा. Something must have touched you somewhere deep and strong. And I hope that you will take these discourses ahead in your respective lives. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our moderators and speakers. It was really wonderful session, even though we have very few number of audiences, but it was really good. So thank you very much. Now I'd like to call Manisha Kulshrestha ma'am to present them a souvenir. Everyone, please give them a huge round
You
of
know
applause.
what they say? They in behavioral science we say whoever is in the room are the people who were supposed to be in the room. So let's applaud those who are there. Let's not worry about those who didn't come.
For the next take novel, group photo. Come in the middle, Melissa ji. Come in the middle.